Hey, bad boys, welcome back to Normies Like Us, the podcast that reminds you it's hip to be square. Hold on to your saddles, gang. We got a big one this week. We're hitting the open range and talking all about the Western genre. Giddy up, Normies.
You tell them I'm coming!
Whoa, take her easy there, Pilgrim.
Hell of a thing, killing a man.
There's no going back.
They told me you had grit, and that is why I came to you.
Margot is my friend.
We got a tough guy.
When you hang a man, you better look at him.
There's a snake in my boots.
Yeehaw, Normies, welcome back. Like we said, we're talking all about Westerns today. I'm one of your hosts, Joe.
Hey, yo, Cowboys. It's Mike.
Rootin' Tootin' Colin.
And we're joined by a very special guest, Jacob.
Thanks, glad to be here.
Howdy.
Hey, buddy.
Howdy.
Long time no see.
Howdy, partner.
Happy to have you. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Happy to have you. Excited to be talking Westerns today.
I love Westerns.
Ooh, me too. How about you guys?
Pretty big fan, man. Always been a genre that's close to the heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like, romantic American genres, like, one of the most beloved, right? Now it's in the news because of the smash hit Red Dead, which we're going to talk about in the video game
Definitely.
section.
I haven't heard of that.
Well, you're the only one then, considering the monumentous sales.
No,
Yeah.
I've been playing that as well.
Not to mention things like Westworld are very big right now. So Westerns really are always something that's in the forefront of American culture, whether it's a spaghetti Western, a classic Western, a post-Western, a Western video game. I mean, it's all over the place.
Oh, the genre that'll never die, man. They are part of Americana.
That's absolutely right.
It's a big genre to kind of talk about today, but we're just dipping our toes in, Normies. You know, we just kind of want to let you experience what the niche to Normie about Westerns is. You know, what do people know about it? To me, the Normie of it, what Mike just said, you know, the stuff we're watching now, the current stuff, you know, is it the Normie if you know Clint Eastwood, if you know John Wayne, the big two Cowboys?
Yeah,
I don't know.
if you can name their names. That's
Yeah. But have you seen those films? That's the niche, probably.
Yeah, and then, I mean, even the Ennio Morricone score, like, that is the sound of the West, at least to, like, maybe our generation coming up
Right.
after these were established and just always on replay on TV.
Well, there's also really been a kind of resurgence in Westerns in the last, like, 20 years or so, right? With a lot of these newer school Westerns.
Yes, and you know, that's something I want to debate with you guys. Western versus Western influenced.
Yeah, I think that's good that we should set the parameters kind of for all
Yeah.
the topics here. Because, like, in my opinion, something like, say, The Revenant is maybe not technically a Western, but like a frontier setting.
Mike, you say that. I hit IMDb doing the research before this. It listed it as the top grossing Western of all time. So that bugs me. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
You know, it is set in those times. It features Native Americans. People have cowboy hats. Is that hitting all the ticks?
There's Dances with Wolves, a Western.
Well, let me give you another one. Is Django Unchained a Western? Because that takes place, I mean, almost entirely like in the South, right? So how can it really be a Western, except it has a lot of Western tropes?
You're geographically getting us there. I get that.
So if I'm defining my parameters, a Western involves, you know, the hero, the white hat against the black hat. You know, you got the sheriffs, dusty town, tumbleweeds, gunslinging, and, you know, that's like the Western. But
So you think about a lot of the like iconography that we expect to see in these movies.
yeah.
Yeah, they have to have that little cutting blade on the bottom of their boots.
To punish a horse into
Yeah.
running faster.
Boo.
Exactly, yeah.
Spurs, thank you.
blades.
Yeah, cutting blades. For me, I would say, Jacob, I'll argue right now, Django is a Western. It falls more into the blockbuster Western, which is of itself its own big, huge genre that isn't really traditional Westerns. But my distinction between Westerns is sometimes people say a film is a Western just because of sparse location. Like if you're in a town where there's not many other people, you know, something like Mad Max Fury Road, people argue is a Western. Oh, you know, there's not a lot of dialogue. It's him against the dirt and the sand. Like that, I don't really agree with. I get that it's
I
influenced.
agree with that.
Oh, really?
That is, you know, we had a professor back in film school who loved to say every movie is a Western. To me, a Western is defined by the classic revenge story. The classic tales of good and evil and the good, the bad, and the ugly that you expect to see in these types of movies. So I would say Mad Max, you know, it's post-apocalyptic, but, you know, what's the difference between the cars and the horses and Walton Joe and the bad sheriff? I mean, it's all kind of the same tropes, just applied to a different space.
Yeah, they could be in Utah. We don't know where they are in that movie. You know, who knows?
Yeah,
If you're going by Jacob's recommendation, it could be on the
For me,
West.
you know, I go, Westerns, like, I go by, like, location and setting, but I also enjoy, like, Westerns that try different things and don't necessarily stick to a lot of the same tropes. And, like, movies that do different things within a Western setting are really interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, essentially the Western genre, right? This is coming out of, a lot of it is the pop culture surrounding the phenomenon of the films, the John Ford movies, and later the spaghetti Westerns, and then, post-Western stuff like that. So should we just jump in and start talking about the movies that started all this?
Mike, I think you're totally right.
All right, going home on the range, talking the movies.
Hey there, cowbokes. We're back. We're talking Westerns. We're talking the movies in the Western genre. But let me ask you guys this first. So how familiar are you with figures? Like in your mind, are you like, I know who Wild Bill Hickok is. I know who the Wyatt Earp brothers are. The shootout at the OK Corral, stuff like that.
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with that kind of thing. Like, I've seen a lot of those movies, both in, obviously we went to film school. We watch a lot of those kind of movies in school. And also when I was like 12, I went out west with my family on vacation. We saw the OK Corral in person and all that stuff. So I know about all that stuff.
Very cool.
I know about all that stuff.
Did you guys do this too? Have you guys all with your family taken one of those old timey photographs where you're dressed like cowboys?
Absolutely not, man.
I
Those
am
cost
not.
money.
No? Yeah, I definitely have.
That's the right answer. Yeah, those cost money. That's how it would go in my family.
Yeah. Where it's unfortunately like, oh, my mom's dressed like an old-timey saloon girl.
I just
cool.
don't like it.
Yeah.
The other part of it too, like, I don't know so much about like the actual history. Like I know about Wyatt Earp and all, I know of these events, but I don't really know the detailed history of Jesse James and stuff like that.
Joe, how about you?
I would say about the same as Mike. I've seen a lot of these movies.
Yeah.
I'm not a history buff. I know the names. I recognize the plots.
Well, that's the reason I bring a lot of it up, is that these early films, John Ford, who's a seminal director for these movies, was very interested in the history. Like a lot of the things like OK Clementine that he was making were direct adaptations of the Earp brothers' adventures, that early history with cowboys. Because again, Mike, like you said, it was the American myth of the West. People were obsessed. You had post-World War II sentiments where we thought, ooh, we kind of got roped up in something maybe not all of us agreed on. What's something in the past where we could say we were strong Americans, conquering other people, manifest destiny, we could go forward? The Old West. I mean, that's why people were obsessed with these movies.
Yeah, and if, we're talking about the history versus like kind of legacy of the genre, like that's what I'm in love with, is that romanticized vision of, you're out on your own, totally free, the lawless time. A man makes himself, lives on his own, dies on his own. He has his own code. You could be a villain. You could be a hero. Just the idea of the untamed West and striking out against that to make a name. That's as American as it gets. Going to a new frontier, moving to a new country, creating a new life, right? Trying to establish something where there was previously nothing. That's America right there. So
that's the original American dream, right? You head out west.
Oh, hell yes. In fact, there's a movie that features that in 1939, John Ford's first biggest hit, Stagecoach, which is about a stagecoach heading west to establish a new city. Starred a little guy named John Wayne in his first lead role.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of John Wayne.
Once or
Pilgrim.
twice, right? So how do you guys feel about
Pilgrim.
the Duke? Just talking Western movies. Is he what you see?
He's not really my favorite Western actor. I like the kind of Clint Eastwood archetype more.
He's your grandfather's, maybe?
Yeah, John Wayne's just very traditional, very like,
Man's man.
Yeah.
People
Which
say
I'm more into
stiff.
like the outlaw
Yeah.
or the rogue,
He's stiff. He's built like fucking Frankenstein's monster. You know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I mean? Like the guy's like 9 foot tall.
But Jacob just hit the nail on the head. John Wayne never played anti-heroes.
No, he was
That's the
always
Clint
the,
Eastwood. Exactly.
the
He's
good
the
guy.
larger than life.
Yeah.
And that's like the early days of the genre with John Ford. That's when he's trying to represent this American ideal, this, the embodiment of like the strong stoic man who does right, knows right. And that's John Wayne.
I mean, like while he never plays anti-hero, though, there are like every Western hero is a little rough around the edges, which I think is something also a lot of like people identify with or like to think they identify with. Like the gruff exterior.
The Heart of Gold.
Like, to go back to John Ford, like in The Searchers, which is one of maybe his best known.
That's my
Masterpiece.
favorite John
Also
Ford.
John
and,
Wayne.
John Wayne, he does play a kind of flawed character because he's like super racist and like, just kind of not a great guy. But
I would say in that one he's closer to the anti-hero as
Yeah.
well, because he's like reluctantly dragged into the mission.
Beyond that, if you guys remember the opening of that film, Uncle Ethan, the character that he plays, coming back from the cavalry, has not been invited to the homestead in a long time. He's a character that is trying to reestablish connections with his family.
Yeah, I mean, he's disgraced, essentially.
Because he sided with the South, and that's a bad guy move.
Mm-hmm. How about something like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance,
that's another one I
where
like
he's
a lot.
going up against characters
Stewart.
with Jimmy Stewart, who kind of plays the clean-cut guy you can get on, board with. Meanwhile, John Wayne, everybody in that town, even though they respect him for his gunfighting ability, basically also think he's a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the films that kind of starts leaning into like questioning what had already been established by Ford earlier of like the pure American West ideal, and then it starts getting a shade of gray.
No, we get savagery at that point.
Yeah, I think we're starting to walk into the good, the bad, and the ugly, the Clint Eastwood, Unforgiven-esque territory.
Right, which for me, John Wayne, he's like the icon, everyone knows him, old John Wayne.
Hey there, Pilgrim.
Pilgrim. But my, cowboy hero is, Clint Eastwood, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars. Like, that's it for me.
And they're both dudes I disagree with incredibly, like, politically and stuff.
in real life. Yeah.
Well, you guys don't remember that famous Western where Clint Eastwood argues with that chair?
Oh, no.
But when you get into something like, Unforgiven and these new school Westerns, it's almost kind of like a postmodern Western era where it's like they're kind of riffing on these original Western tropes and bringing something new to it, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's taking his old characters and saying he was an anti-hero. You're talking the 1970s spaghetti Western craze where European directors were shooting films that played as America in Europe and flying over American stars to do these odd spaghetti Westerns. And they were doing it to sort of go up against their government, which was a lot of totalitarian dictatorships.
Yeah, so the idea of the outlaws in the Old West,
the American
it meant
freedom.
something again.
Exactly, and it's something that they pined for. They wanted it. And then what Jacob's saying now with those postmoderns, by the time Clint Eastwood grew up to play that character, he had such a storied career he could lean back on. He could say, this is all so outdated. It's just everything that I can critique.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how, like, the Western John Ford era is like the ideal, and then you have the spaghetti Westerns who are influenced by that, try to perpetuate, through the Italian lens of that, and then
but much grittier, much darker,
grittier, yeah, exactly. And then you go into like the era like now where it's like even Hateful Eight and stuff are like very dark and very gritty and very kind of critical and almost like the antithesis of what the John Ford movies were in theme, right?
Yeah, that's
they
kind
don't
of
really romanticize it as much as they used to. I mean, it's really
No,
trying
well,
to
if you-
show how dark it was.
Yeah, and if you think about it, it was like a very problematic era. Like, unless you're a white male, like, things weren't so great for you in those times. So, like, some of these newer Westerns that kind of address those issues and say, like, well, really things weren't as great as maybe they were idealized to be, like in the 60s.
It's like, everyone's like, oh man, I wish I could live in King Arthur's time. It'd be such a sweet night. It's like, no, you'd probably just be a serf, like in the mud.
Yeah, like emptying out ship bowls.
Dying at like 22.
Yeah, but if you were anything but a white guy time traveling to them,
oh man.
God.
But if you think about something like Deadwood, the HBO series, that kind of shows you how
their first Western series,
the muck and the grime of living in those times, and
that Cowboys cursed.
Yeah.
Well, beyond that was kind of, so when I was a kid watching that program, that was my first key into immigrants' role into the West. When you would see the Chinese immigrants with the railroad, the entire districts contributed to that in Deadwood, I would think, well, what the fuck? Nobody in these old movies ever talked about this once.
Yeah, you gotta think like John Wayne was playing Genghis Khan back then. Like they weren't
getting
gonna talk
cancer.
about any of that.
That's true.
Boo.
Well, everything from the way they viewed Native Americans and that kind of thing too. Like, it was idealized, and things weren't as great as they seem to be. So.
I mean, like Cowboys and Indians, right? I mean, that was
and there's been some really good
good guys and bad
that kind of
guys,
show a more nuanced approach to that too. There's been movies that do that as well.
I would
Dances with Wolves.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Last of the Mohicans, are you guys a fan of that? Would you call that a Western, or is that a Pioneer Times?
That's kind of like The Revenant for me, where
Yeah.
it's not really, it's set in those times, but it doesn't have like the Western tropes, I guess.
But it's man versus nature.
Yeah, I mean, since we're kind of dancing around it, but one of the things I love the most about the genre is that it can be genre bent so easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like Nicholas Ray, one of my favorite filmmakers, and Johnny Guitar. You know, that's a Western, sure, but also it's like a woman's picture.
Yeah, fantastic female story.
So, yeah, I think...
Cat's Baloo, too, if I could recommend that.
Yeah, that one. The Lusty Men, another. But these are all like genre-bending elements. Like, I think you can have a Western in space. You can have a Western in
Certainly.
the post-apocalypse. I
Firefly.
love that aspect. Yeah,
Ooh, Firefly.
you can't take the sky from me.
But I can take the sky, but I can take the qualitative of a Western from it. It's definitely a Western influence, but I'd like it, like, what do I call a clear-cut Western? Dusty streets. Like, you can have a space Western. It's very heavily influenced, but in my just personal categorization. But what's fun is you can take all those and put them anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I that's my favorite thing about the genre.
And, you know, going forward, Joe, I almost wonder if everything's going to go so separated from the true past, if it's almost easier to say, look at the plight of these native aliens, opposed to what we actually want to talk about, which was the terrible past of the
I mean,
West.
I hate the movie, but like Avatar, you know, that's essentially
Sure.
just like, oh, we took the land from the Native Americans to get what we could out of
They're
it.
fighting back.
Yeah, I mean, like, we see that kind of stuff taken from our past and reflected in movies, because that's what movies do.
Yeah, but I enjoy that it's just so freaking cool. Gun shootouts at high noon. You know, like, it's so... They're the American samurai, right? And we're talking about the legacy of these movies.
The Magnificent Seven. Right?
Yeah, Akira
direct
Kurosawa.
adaptations from Yojimbo, all that stuff.
Yeah, Kurosawa loved Ford movies, and then adapted samurai movies to be like Westerns, and then, you know, Spaghetti Western, they're doing the exact story of Yojimbo from Kurosawa into a Western, and then we have space Westerns like Firefly. It's cool.
Right. And then you have someone like Quentin Tarantino who takes from everything and just combines it. Now you get these, you know, like Hateful Eight and Django.
Django Unchained.
And even Inglourious Bastards has like a ton of Western.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You could argue that
please.
that's a Western, man. Like, they are, to me, like, they're defined by the stories. Like, the classic tales of revenge and getting what's yours.
So is Taxi Driver a Western?
He's got that gun mechanism.
Yeah,
you know,
I
he's
mean,
doing
he's going
cowboy
against the
pose.
gang.
Yeah,
Truly. I don't, Mike,
it ends
yes.
with a shootout.
I don't
you know,
know.
like, I mean,
Just
yeah,
like
I
True
think-
Grit, he's just not on a horse.
Exactly. These
in a
elements
taxi.
are, again, it's so much of American cinema that it's kind of, you know, like, we had a professor I mentioned before that loved to say every movie is a Western.
Every
and
movie's
like
a
that's a
Western.
philosophy I could definitely get behind.
Yeah, well then, on that, what is your favorite Western film? Let's go around here. Let's start with our guest, Jacob.
Here's an argument.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
let's
go.
go,
Let's
Jacob.
see what the favorites are.
Well, it's difficult for me because I would split it up from, like, you know, old school Westerns and then the Renaissance
The
of like
postmodern.
1990 on. But I think, you know, in terms of old school, I'm a big fan of, maybe this is a little deeper cut, Ride the High Country, which is a Sam Peckinpah movie. Not his most well-known movie, but I think it was like his second movie that he made. But it's really good. And yeah, but then when it comes to like newer school movies, there's a lot of good Westerns that have come out even in the last decade. One particular one that I like a lot is The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert
beautiful
Ford.
movie.
Yeah.
Classic.
Really good cinematography, good acting, Brad Pitt,
Casey Affleck.
Yeah. Very, very long, slow moving, more kind of contemplative movie. But
I mean,
highly
it's-
recommended.
It's people on horses. It's shootouts. But
Yeah.
again, is that a
Train
Western?
robberies.
See, that's the
When
type of movie
it's-
where it's like, just because it's set in the West,
Yeah,
is it a Western?
it's a brotherhood drama. You know, it's guys saying like, "Are we fraternal?" You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
If we can talk about Ride the High Country for just a second,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
say that's Peckinpah's most personal movie, shot on Peckinpah Mountain. You know, Joel McCrea, Randolph Scott. We're mentioning that maybe Clint Eastwood and John Wayne are the two biggest Western stars ever. But if you don't know who Randolph Scott is, I mean, he is the staple of most Westerns. And just an awesome postmodern plot about two cowboys who are too old to be cowboys anymore. I love that movie, Jacob.
And a lot of people know, you know, The Wild Bunch, those kind of movies, but I think this might be his best Western and maybe his best movie, you know. Yeah, so definitely watch that one. Also, Johnny Guitar is a
Johnny
great
Guitar
one.
is
That's a great rec, too. How about you guys? Joe, Mike, favorites?
I mean, my favorite Western is, well, probably Blazing Saddles.
Dude,
I mean,
phenomenal
yes.
answer.
It's
Perfect choice.
It's a satire of
Yep.
it, or a parody of the genre, but it's so good. And it answers some of those questions. Like we said, it'd be really bad to be not a white guy back in the Old West. And this plays with that, and it's so funny. Like, the lead is, it's Mel Brooks at his best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it hits all of the tropes dead on. I mean,
Yeah.
it is definitely a classic.
I mean, you can't limit it just to parody when it is, like you're saying, nailing everything so perfectly and then excelling the genre by saying, well, let's talk about race a little bit. You know, let's talk about some other things. Yeah.
Exactly, while still being lighthearted. It's like, that's a good way to bring up issues that people don't think about, is make them laugh about it first,
Oh,
and
it's
then make them
remarkable.
think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that the one at the end where it gets like super meta and like breaks the fourth wall? And
Yeah.
just
It's
becomes,
almost like Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort
Yeah,
of.
they go to Grauman's and there's an entire fight. Yeah, it's wonderful.
They ride their horses out the Paramount Studio front lot. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
It's your favorite Western. Is it your favorite Mel Brooks movie?
It is my favorite Mel Brooks movie. Absolutely. I also want to throw a nod to the 310 to Yuma remake.
Sure.
I love that
I
one.
thought that
Ben
was
Foster,
excellent.
Yeah, Ben Foster does a really good
Yeah.
one.
And-
Who made that movie?
whatever
Someone I
happened to
really
Ben
liked made that
Foster,
movie.
Oh, jeez.
It is James Marigold, the man who
Who
did
made
the Wolverine and Logan.
Yeah,
all
And
that
that's
stuff.
a Western
Yeah.
too, right?
Absolutely.
Oh,
No, yeah. Got Russell Crowe.
Let's hold on, bottle that up. I
Yeah,
don't want to
bottle
talk
that
about Logan as a Western. That
But-
might be too much.
Yeah, my final recommendation is
We're watching Westerns.
yeah, I like the remakes, but I also think the True Grit remake with Jeff Bridges. I love Jeff Bridges.
Coen
He's so
Brothers.
good.
Yeah, that's a really good
So,
one.
if you
And I
wanna-
like that you can't understand anything Jeff Bridges says.
Oh yeah.
The color scheme of that movie is really gorgeous too.
So if you want like a Western, not Blazing Saddles,
Yeah.
I would recommend True
But
Grit
still
the
funny.
remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So that's mine.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what,
Those are good ones.
he still hasn't cut that beard that he grew as Mr. Cogburn, Jeff Bridges.
That's right.
So
Became
you gotta
that
love
guy
that. Yeah,
after he made that
exactly.
movie, I think.
My favorite Western is hands down Wild Wild West with
Oh my God,
Yes, thank you.
Jim West, Desperado.
Rough Rider. No, you don't want nada.
Oh my God.
Can I say you especially like the moment where you can see his testicles?
Yeah, you can see his balls like right at the beginning of the movie. Will Smith. Oh, classic.
Oh, did you not know that? When he is up in the water tower with the girl doing a shootout, he leans up and his testicles are just dangling in the water.
In the movie?
Yeah, in the movie. Yeah,
was-
people have pointed it out as a very weird thing to keep in.
It's bizarre. That movie is obviously not really my favorite. This is a fun answer.
Yeah.
I was just, like, it came out around my birthday. I went and saw it. And I was like, this is fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the show it's based on is equally as silly.
Yeah, that's based on a show, right? Where it's like James Bond in the Wild West.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So,
it
like, they
perfectly
have, like,
assembles
cool
that.
That's a good
gadgets and
setup.
shit like
Yeah.
that,
Steampunk
Loveless
almost.
lost his damn mind in the
Yeah.
West.
Joe,
but-
it hits all your quadrants, you would say. Western, Kevin Kline in drag,
Yeah.
race relations, steampunk spiders.
Steampunk spiders and Will Smith rapping. That's all I need out of a movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you think about it, Will Smith, he could have done The Matrix, but he turned down The Matrix to do
Wild Wild West.
Wild, Wild
Yeah,
West.
so
Yeah.
Matrix
Wow.
was too risky for Will Smith.
And there was no
Basically
song
what he said.
tie-in.
Yeah.
that would have been great.
Yo,
the one.
it's the Matrix. Plug me
Respect
in.
your parents and have fun. Neo.
Zeros and
you
ones,
imagine?
but I'm the one. But maybe not. Who is the one?
But I'm just kidding. Wild Wild West is not my favorite Western. It's Back to the Future Part 3.
Wow, another
even
nice
better.
take.
Even
Come on.
better.
It's a Western. It's set in the old time. It's set in the Wild West. It's a
my
classic
God.
story of revenge.
It's got a train in it. Oh man, that's great. That makes me want to mention then Shanghai Noon.
Shanghai Noon is really
Guys,
like it really
it's
holds up. If you
remarkable.
go
It
watch
really
I've
does.
really
Shanghai
spiraled
Nights
this
holds up
conversation.
better than Shanghai
Really,
Noon,
I would.
but Shanghai Noon's
I didn't.
good.
I would say Shanghai Noon. Like if you go back and watch it, like it's got some substance to it. Even though
Hell
it's a
yeah.
comedy, it's a Jackie Chan action. Pick,
His name
but-
is John Wayne.
No, Chon Wang.
John Wayne. Yeah, us.
And then at the
terrible
end,
cowboy
Owen Wilson
name.
says, "Well, my real name is Wyatt Earp."
Oh god.
He says, "That's a terrible cowboy name."
So good.
But for real, my favorite is the Dollars trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
Sergio
There we go.
Leone, like spaghetti westerns. The character's literally called the man with no name, which
Ooh,
is incredibly
trivia?
important to me. I like.
Does
that.
anybody know what he gets called in the movies, though?
Oh no, I do not know what he gets called. in
Anybody?
movies.
So at
Cowboy.
one point, he's just nicknamed Blondie.
Oh, huh. So a little trivia about those films. For those who don't know, the original Fistful of Dollars was just an unofficial adaptation of Kurosawa's Yojimbo, which that was also very Western. He rolls into the dusty town controlled by two gangs,
Gets the
sets them
gangs to
against
fight
each
each other.
other.
Yeah. So good.
And it's classic, and it's a tease for maybe the video game section, but Red Dead, I just got to a point where I roll into a dusty town. We're all using pseudonyms, and it seems that there's two factions on either side.
Dude.
So that's a classic story.
It's smart. It's well shot. Clint Eastwood's performances are fucking killer. I love the camera work in particular. I mean, the drama that it brings out is just perfect.
And Ennio Morricone score. I mean,
I mean, like it's to me that's the Old West iconography. So much so that my other favorite, Back to the Future Part 3, pulls exact scenes out of it. Bulletproof vest, genius.
Yeah.
Yep. And they also had that in Shanghai Noon.
Yeah.
Bulletproof metal plate.
That's one where I watched where the director of Back to the Future just said like straight up like. And when we were pitching them, I just thought, I'll never make a Western movie. Why not just make the third one a Western? And they did it, and it's great, Joe. I love it.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but those Dollars trilogies, that's a really good entry point if you like kind of the grittier anti-hero stuff that's like popular now.
Yeah.
Watch the Dollars trilogy,
Because all the guys who made the movies that you're loving now, like that's what they were influenced by.
Yeah,
like,
and beyond that, you are going to watch it and think, oh, Clint Eastwood's the same age. No?
Nope.
No?
He was like, what?
He just looked like that for like 50 years.
He just has looked like that. He might be quantum leaping or might be a vampire.
He just looked like that, yeah. From age 21 until then, he is eternal, yeah.
Can I give you guys another trivia on that? So Man with No Name, as Mike just mentioned, was unofficially a Kurosawa Yojimbo remake. They did sue, saying, well, hold on, you can't just do that. They said, oh, fuck, sorry about that. It was directly remade, Yojimbo, as an American movie in 1991. Do you guys know what that is?
No.
Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis. It's a gangster movie.
That's great.
He's a booze runner.
That's awesome. Another.
I didn't put that together.
Mm-hmm.
That was Oh wow. That's
and they actually paid the money to directly just adapt it.
That's great.
He's got the fedora and the vest with the
it's
two
just Tommy guns instead of swords.
That's a really fun movie.
That's a really bad movie.
Well, I said fun.
Yep, I heard
it's no Hudson Hawk, but I do love
even
it.
better.
But speaking of Kurosawa, I mean, he had a ton of influence on westerns from
vice versa.
60s on, and you look at like Seven Samurai, that's been done a million times in all different genres, and then something like
even Star Wars, Clone Wars, or Rebels or something. I think Rebels did a Seven Samurai episode.
Yeah, with the old clones.
They land on the planet. Yeah. So
and
you had the Magnificent Seven, and then
the second Magnificent Seven.
My favorite remake is A Bug's Life, which is
that's
Seven Samurai, the animated
version.
Shut the fuck up. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I never put that together.
That's so great.
Hopper is the force coming in that they're all going up against.
And
they've got the circus of bugs that are trying to be like,
and it's seven
warriors,
misfits.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Another thing, the man with no name in Yojimbo, he doesn't tell people his name. He just looks out the window and he sees some mulberries. He says, "Oh, my name's
Mulberry
Field."
Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
Field.
So it's cool that's
translated
no-name
over.
stuff.
Yeah.
It is a big cycle. If you guys haven't seen... Oh, yeah, wait, no, Colin, I want to get... What's your favorite Western? We got to get those.
No, we're jumping the gun.
I wanted to do that, but real quick, just while we say it, Cowboys Samurais, just tell me.
Sukiyaki Western Django, it exists. It's a movie.
Sukiyaki Western Django.
Oh, what's that?
Tarantino produced it. It's a Japanese co-production where it's basically blending War of the Roses with samurais and westerns.
Oh.
So the costumes and everything, it's literally samurai cowboys. So you'll have a guy who draws his gun cross-draw like you would a sword from the left side of your body.
Dude.
And it's like they got chaps and also like kimono tops. It's
that movie's really fun.
That's the ultimate, like everything comes full circle and then they mash it into one film.
I haven't seen it either, but The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
That is a very fun...
another Western
Lee
Japanese.
Byung-hun, who plays Storm Shadow in the G.I. Joe films, Korean actor, he is one of the coolest bad guys ever in that movie.
Whoa, awesome.
Yeah, he is so fucking slick. He's like the bad guy gunslinger. Yeah, that's one of my favorite roles he's ever done.
A lot of like gung fu.
And he ended up in the Seven Samurai, the Magnificent Seven that they did with Denzel Washington.
Oh yeah, I saw that recently.
So he's been a cowboy twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so what do you guys prefer, Cowboys or Samurais?
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
I'm an American.
Yeah.
I like both.
I'm a samurai guy,
You're a samurai
but they're
guy.
the same thing to me.
Yeah, Mike, you just kind
Because
of
of the
got
film.
me
Different cultures,
to your side.
same archetype.
The difference for me is I love the outfits cowboys wear better. They wear suits to kill people. Like, that's the coolest thing on the planet. But if you're saying that movie has like a Japanese kimono influence suit
With
outfit,
chaps on the bottom, a cross
I might
draw.
fucking like that the most.
I mean, that's,
Yeah,
are you a
I don't know.
smuggler or a Jedi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aesthetically speaking, the Sukiyaki Western Django is amazing because they'll have like a set, but then the sun setting in the background is literally just a piece of wood painted yellow that they're dropping on a red background.
Yeah.
So there's this weird, like, dreamlike feel to it because it's so over the top. So recommend that, viewers. Sukiyaki Western Django. Tarantino obviously has a cameo because it's like, I like these.
Oh, fuck. I can already see that. I'm sure he's wearing a cowboy
Yeah,
fucking
he
hat.
is.
Yeah.
That's what I hear when Quentin Tarantino.
He gives a big expositional dump, but it's really fun. The only problem with it I have is that they did the whole movie in English, even the Japanese cast. So they have really strong Japanese accents, so it's kind of hard to understand.
Yeah.
And that's not a fault. I just think the movie would have been way better just in Japanese with the exact same aesthetics that they kept. It was so dope. So
If it's a Japanese movie, let them speak Japanese.
Yeah, why hurt
I don't know,
performance?
but maybe that's just them trying to like, we're gonna do this Japanese Western fusion, and damn it, so will it be the English speaking.
Yeah, it will be all Western then.
Yeah, so it's definitely a curious study of the way the genres have intertwined and then come to marry together in this one movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to tell you guys my favorites. So it's also a Sergio Leone movie, the director we've been talking about for the Man with No Name trilogy. It's not attached to that. It's one of his later works. It's called Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh, why did no one say that?
Look, it's the best. It stars Charles Bronson. I'm a guy who has multiple Charles Bronson posters on his wall. That's unfortunate. It also stars Henry Fonda as basically the only villain performance he ever did in his career. And it's like astounding. He's got these piercing blue eyes, and the way that he just fucking looks through you is so venomous. Now, why do I like it though? None of that stuff. Who cares? That is all literally whipped cream on top. It is the score. Ennio Morricone's Ecstasy of Gold is maybe the best music ever set to film.
Wow, now that's a good, because you think Jaws music, the Star Wars theme, but really, that music has been used in Looney Tunes. I mean,
It's known, man.
That's the soundtrack of the West, literally.
Yeah, again, it's like that's the type of stuff where, like when we were talking in the Star Trek episode about not necessarily needing to watch the original series, like, because you just know it. I feel like Old West movies, you just know it. Like, you're born with that knowledge.
You see a tumbleweed go by.
Yeah.
You hear that old music.
You've ever
and you're
seen,
like,
Looney Tunes, Tiny Tunes, Animaniacs, any fucking,
They do the Western
I don't watch
parody.
kid shows now, but like I'm sure kid shows like Steven Universe probably does a Western parody at some
I'd
point.
guarantee.
Yeah. It's just funny that the quintessential soundtrack of the quintessential American Ideal genre is coming from an Italian guy. Doing a facsimile, basically.
It makes sense to
Spaghetti
me.
Western.
What's more American than that, right?
So here's a cool little bit of trivia. Quentin Tarantino, of course, is obsessed with these films, so in his mind, I'm sure he's jacking off just thinking like, oh, if I could make a Western with an Ennio Morricone score, I would fucking bust my load. Guess what, guys? He gets to do that. John Carpenter commissioned Ennio Morricone to do the score for Escape from New York, and then he fucking threw it out because he was like, oh, you know what? I don't really need this. And if you guys don't know, obviously he synthesized the shit out of it afterwards. So that score's
I like
pretty iconic.
John Carpenter.
Another good
score
Western
stuff.
John Carpenter did is Big Trouble in Little China. And Kurt
total
Russell
Western.
admitted to doing a
John Wayne impression.
The whole movie.
Yeah,
You
the way
know
that he's
what
pronouncing
old Jack
stuff. Yeah.
says, exactly. So
Old Jack thinks we gotta go.
the hell with it.
So, of course...
Once Upon a Time in the West. Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in the West. Or no, I'm sorry. So to backtrack, so Quentin Tarantino's making Hateful Eight.
Right.
And he's like, God, if I could only fucking get some music to go with this. John Carpenter says, I have this entire score I have never used from Ennio Morricone. And he uses it. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole score in Hateful Eight is...
Partially. It's partially influenced, and then they, of course, had to build it out.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
it's
'cause I mean, it
got
wasn't
Ennio
built for the same.
Morricone.
Because there's
Yeah,
that one
exactly.
song I really like in Hateful Eight that's...
Oh, where she plays the guitar?
No, I was thinking of just like in the score when they're going into the cabin, it's just that menacing like dun dun or something. But I thought, didn't he also use Morricone music in Django at one point?
Oh, yeah. He completely rips up and reuses
But
Ecstasy
they
of Gold.
kind of had like a falling out too, where like Morricone said like Tarantino's like a piece of shit to work with, which a lot of people have said before.
Most people who work with him.
He
it's not
calls
really
him a
surprising.
recycler. He says
Yeah.
that he will just rip stuff apart and that he does not respect the process. And that when you get scenes in Inglourious Bastards where he's using Cat People, a David Bowie song,
Right,
it's
yeah.
like, well, this is kind of weird, but I love it. So
Yeah.
I would argue
He's
who
really good
cares?
at
I mean, it's the
mashing
same
things
kind of stuff
together
that Zack
and
Snyder
making it work.
does. I mean, love it or hate it, it's a style.
Well,
There's a
the-
shot in Inglourious Bastards that's literally that famous searcher shot where she comes out of the doorway. Right?
Oh, so beautiful.
Isn't that an homage then?
Yeah, but all his movies are just a ton of homages just mashed together.
That's
but
how
in
you
a
know
way
he's a
that
genius.
works.
I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of homages that he's done, though, like the whole presentation of Hateful Eight was really a throwback to how we used to see movies in this
Shot
country.
70 millimeter, right?
He shot 70 millimeter and he
with the
took it on the road.
intermission,
And no
he did
lights.
The road show.
Right?
Guys, he
Yeah.
did one of the most successful road shows since, is it a Western? Gone with the Wind?
I'm going to say no.
I'm
My
gonna say
problem
no.
with
It's a romance.
Hateful Eight, though, I just wish it was a better movie because I was a little disappointed with it.
Oh, I
but-
wish it wasn't completely boring in the middle of it.
Yeah,
Where you're
well,
like,
he originally wrote it as like a stage play, right? And that kind of shows because it's very wordy and it's very one location, which is like 70 millimeter film, which is great, but you're inside this cabin the whole time. So
I mean, isn't that kind of like Quentin Tarantino's style now? Is just
Yeah.
long-winded scenes where characters all talk like they're in a Joss
true,
Whedon
but at least
movie.
something Django Unchained had very visually interesting set pieces and that kind of thing
True.
as well.
Yeah,
I always thought since Reservoir Dogs that Tarantino's thing was having people sit down and talk.
that is his
the
thing.
circle.
One thing the Hateful Eight does do that we were kind of discussing early on is like it's bringing in all these elements about good versus evil, race, class, sexism, because there's all these different characters in the cabin together, and they can kind of look at where do these people fit in this world of the lawless West, and I give them credit for at least including that stuff. So
Yeah. And, you got the old Confederate general, you got Samuel L. Jackson. And the other thing is, like, all the
Suck
characters
my
are...
yeah,
all the it's called The Hateful Eight, and all the characters in that movie are, like, huge pieces of shit.
bad
very
guys.
Right.
unlikable people. And it's just about what happens when they all get together,
yep.
The script leaked. He had to rewrite the ending as well. So kind of a lot of red flags on that one, unfortunately.
I don't like that movie.
Yeah.
Not his best
Just
work.
be real. I think it's pretty overhyped.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's overhyped. I mean, I don't think anyone really hypes it that much anymore.
I mean,
There's
I
that
guess
guy
that's
down in the
anymore,
corner
but when it
who's just
came out,
always
it was
talking
like,
about
you
it.
have to see this movie.
I
And
think
the road
most
show
people
didn't
consider
work
it
90% of the time.
70 mil.
I think most people would say it's his worst or one of his worst movies, for sure.
All right, well, let's talk about some stuff that I do like watching. How about TV Western
That's
stuff
true.
that's
We should
going
touch on this.
We got
Deadwood.
the big one. Let's jump into Westworld. Even better than
Westworld.
Deadwood, in my opinion.
Well, Westworld isn't really a Western, though. It's set in a Western
Yeah.
theme park, but I would consider it way more sci-fi than Western.
Well, but what if the facility they're in is in the West? Then is it a Western?
Star Trek has
it's-
Western episodes too.
Yeah.
But it's not a real Western. It takes the tropes of a Western in the framing of a theme park, right? But can you really? And I guess the obviously the robot characters think they're in a Western or think that
Yes.
their lives are a Western, but
Yeah.
it's really more like a mind-bending sci-fi to me.
I mean, we dance around the semantics a lot about what it means to be a Western, and like,
What does it mean to be human, Joe?
if it takes the tropes of it and applies it, it is like to me like the tropes and the iconography are what makes it.
Right.
yeah.
Well, let's set this up real quick. I burned through both seasons. How about you guys? Have you seen
I've
it
only
all?
seen season 1.
Okay.
I've not seen any Westworld.
I haven't had a lot of interest
I-
really to see season 2.
Lost interest halfway through season 1.
All right.
I'm not
I
a
love
huge-
the original Westworld.
Yeah, that is right.
Michael Crichton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no,
Listen
I've
to
never
our
seen
Jurassic
that.
Park episode where we
Yeah.
talk about it.
Well, he directed it.
Yeah, personally, I'm not really a huge fan of these Christopher Nolan-esque, which is, obviously his brother makes this movie, this show,
Jonathan
right?
Nolan.
But these where they set up these mysteries and then they just get strung out forever and then they never really get fully answered and then there's like twists and stuff. But it's just not.
because he comes from the
era of Lost.
Well,
The
J.J.
Abrams school
truly
of
from the company, the
screenwriting.
Bad Robot School of, because
Right.
Jonathan Nolan,
The mystery
his last
box.
film was, or TV show was that high concept post 9/11. We're all watching each other with Michael Emerson and Jim Caviezel. I don't remember what that's called. People
I think about
recommend it
I
all
think
the
about
time.
Lost and I think
Yeah.
about
The Mystery Box show.
that newer HBO one where the people disappear with Justin Theroux.
The
Oh yeah,
Leftovers.
The Leftovers.
Yeah, that's another one that was made by one of the co-creators of Lost. It's like sets up a bunch of stuff. I never finished it, but
Never finished it either. Yeah, and something I lost interest in.
So you guys are saying Westwood over Deadwood on the HBO side?
No, I'm saying
Deadwood is-
Westworld over Deadworld.
no, I'm saying
personally.
Deadwood is the quintessential
Yeah.
classic Western set in those times. Just a very traditional Western, but it really shows you the dirt and the grime of living in that era, and it has interesting characters, and it's really good.
Is Justified a Western?
I have not seen Justified.
It's set in Kentucky.
But it's more of a modern Western,
yeah,
right?
I guess so.
Like,
Elmore Leonard.
Yeah.
I like, as far as Western TV shows, I mean, we got to mention, things like Bonanza, Gunsmoke, and The Rifleman. I mean...
Yeah, that's the classic.
My dad loves The Rifleman. He calls it The Killin' because every episode almost he's just killing the guy who's messing up the town. And it's like, I'm the sheriff,
Mike, my dad also loved The Rifleman,
Yeah.
and I can say I have seen so many fucking episodes of that TV show, and Bonanza,
Yep.
and Gunsmoke, Marshall Dillon. Marshall Dillon!
Yeah.
We in college had a film test, I guess, for our program. The first thing you ever get to edit is an episode of Gunsmoke. So
Wow.
it's always kind
Re-edit
of been
the
there
episode.
for us, yeah.
That's really great.
But really, if you think about Deadwood as kind of a modern take on those shows, where those shows were very idealistic.
The
They had
romantic
very
version.
classic good guy versus
Miss
bad guy.
Kitty is a prostitute on Gunsmoke. It's
Right.
never said she is just the madam of the
Right.
whorehouse.
Right.
And then Deadwood is kind of that same show, but pulling back the curtains, the romantic, glaze of it, and then seeing like, oh, this is what it really was more like,
Yeah.
with a lot more F words and stuff too as well.
Heck yeah,
Cocksucker.
dude.
Cowboys curse.
Swearingen cocksucker.
You got a bunch of, like Rifleman, it's like, sweet on the school teacher,
Yeah.
It's like very wholesome,
Right, yeah. And you got a baseball star playing the lead. Meanwhile, I've been rewatching a lot of Deadwood recently. A lot of guest stars pop up. Kristen Bell plays a young prostitute in an episode where you're just like, wow, this is breaking my heart. But Westworld, and spoiler alerts, I'm not going to talk about anything since you guys haven't gone forward, but season 3, I would be very curious to see how it could still be about the Old West. Who knows?
Well, it's
so
not
it
really
might just be
ever
sci-fi
about
going
the Old
forward.
West, right?
But I think it does some of the best Old West stuff ever. In this last season, episode 7 of season 2, it's just called Akacheta. It just follows a
Right, it's like
Sioux
the
Indian tribe man.
Yeah.
He speaks Sioux the entire time. What media have you ever seen like that from that point of view? I think it does a wonderful job of that.
That's true. I have not seen any stories told like that. Do we have anything else we want to talk about the on-screen representation? Because Westworld is technically a simulation, but there's another big Western simulation that is blowing up right now, and I don't know if we want to mosey on over.
Ooh, I say we do it.
Well, with a transition like that, we have to.
I took my shot, and I never
Let's
missed.
do it.
Ooh, that's because you're a Deadeye, Mike.
That's right. Bang, bang.
Yeah.
All right, well, howdy there. Welcome into the Saloon. We're here talking the Western genre video games. And we all know right now what's the talk of the interwebs is Red Dead Redemption 2. 10 out of 10 scores everywhere. It's incredible.
I've heard of it,
Yeah, I've been playing it. Jacob, you been playing it?
I've been playing the shit out of it.
Colin, Joe, you guys been playing this at all?
I've been playing it like crazy. Joe?
No, how have you been playing it?
I've been playing it. I've been playing it all over.
Oh.
He's been going to other people's houses and breaking
and
in.
sitting down and playing it.
I gotta get on my B&E skills.
That's
here.
what that backup quarterback was doing. He just-
I have not
Chad
played
Kelly?
it yet.
Chad Kelly.
I'm excited to, but also I'm not in any rush because it is an evergreen game. Like when I get it, I will sit down and tear through it.
Though. You
For
gotta
now,
get in with the talk of the town.
No, Joe, I would say...
town talk. I got
It's-
my third gameplay of Spiderman
Easy,
right
partner.
now.
We don't
you
want
got
no trouble.
Spider-Man.
Joe,
No,
it's going to fall to the
Spider-Man's old
side.
news.
It's going to be one of these games like Skyrim where you never see it again.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
definitely
it's
not.
gonna be
No,
gone.
it's an easy game of the year contender. I absolutely love it.
But before, I mean, I have played the first one.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
played the first one probably 4 or 5 years after it came out. Bought the Mega Edition that had the zombie DLC included.
See, you guys
Yeah.
are saying
Loved it.
you played Red Dead Redemption. I played Red Dead Revolver.
I played Revolver
I
as
fucking
well.
love that game.
So
what is Revolver? I don't
That was a
remember that one. Was that the
PS2
first
game.
one?
That was
Yep.
the first one. And we should say Rockstar, the people who make Grand Theft Auto.
Yep. And it had like a slow motion Deadeye system.
Oh, I
was
do
the
remember
whole
that.
thing.
And Gun was another of the similar
Yep.
brand.
And then Juarez Gunslinger.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time where, like, for a solid 2 years, Western games were it. I mean, that's what you were getting.
And then now it's been how many years since Red Dead 1?
I think that came out in like 2011, and I definitely played the first one. No,
I think so. No, it was
Was it?
PS3.
I thought it was older than
That's
that.
last console cycle.
I mean that's
yeah.
7 years ago or 8 years ago.
I would say at least then. I think Jacob's right.
But I played the first one. I enjoyed it a lot. There were some issues with it that I had, and I really liked it. I really wanted it to be better. And then this game came out, and this game blows the first one out of the water, and it's just great.
The horse controls were so bad in the first Red
Yeah,
Dead
the horse
Redemption,
controls,
it's
and
so
looking
much
back,
more
had some of
interesting
the bad tendencies of like open world games at that time. But in terms of Red Dead Redemption 2, I absolutely love it. I would put it's getting up there to like Witcher 3 levels of like one of the best games I've ever played. So
Witcher, the game which hijacked the Bethesda episode.
yes,
Bethesda's best game, Witcher 3.
Witcher
That's what
3.
I
This game really is an extension of a lot of what Witcher 3 did in terms of open world, in terms of immersiveness. This is maybe if not the biggest by land size, I don't know if it is or not, but this is the biggest, most detailed, most immersive open world game that's ever been made.
Here's my hot take. I don't care how big your map is.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about it.
It ain't about the size,
area.
it's how you use it.
Exactly.
But I'm not just talking about in terms of area. I'm talking about in terms of there's so much to do. Every NPC you can talk to. There's all kinds of just side characters that come up, and it's the immersive gameplay. It's more immersive than any game.
Hold on, let me jump back to what Mike said though, because when Cole booted it up, the first thing I said to him was, "Show me the map." He zoomed all the way out. I said, "That's how big it is." He said, "Yeah, I think so." I said, "Is it larger than Just Cause?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Is it larger than Zelda?" He said, "Yes." We're getting to that point where I just kind of nod my head and say, okay, that's a cool fact about a game, is that it has the biggest map.
I'm into
I don't
density.
think the size of the map matters so much as what you put inside of it, right? And this world just feels so alive when you walk around. There's so much to do.
Geographically, if you break it up, it can matter to me. And I think it's cool that it's big.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
But we're getting to
what
that
I'm just saying
pissing
is just so
contest.
packed full of life.
All right,
that,
so let's kind of give an overview then. It's a huge map. It's a Western game. You're playing Arthur Morgan, right? You're a
Yes.
member of a band of outlaws on the run. The West is
Dutch's
being
boys.
intruded
well, we should
upon.
say, like, if you played the first one, you played John Marston, a character that was in this gang that left. This game is a prequel to that game.
Yeah.
And you see, so in the first one, you track down and you kill or you let go some of the old members of the gang, including Dutch, who was the end big boss guy. In this game, you're playing Arthur Morgan, and John Marston is there, but you get a kind of a different perspective on him and a different perspective on Dutch and the gang. And it's just really interesting.
Yeah. And
I was
that's
pretty surprised by how much John Marston's pulled out of it so far.
yeah. It's good to get a different take on that character. I was a big John Marsden fan. I'm also a Jack Marsden fan, and he's in this game as well.
Yeah.
So that's the story, and then what's layered upon this massive world that we were just arguing over whether that's a good thing or not are these systems upon systems. There's a hunting system, there's a fishing system, there's obviously a horse riding, there's gunfighting systems, there's bounty hunting, there is the standard story. There's so much variety of gameplay types in this.
About half of those sound really cool to me, and the other half are like, I'm never gonna go fishing in this game.
No.
Well, it's there's a lot from the first game. I mean, you can play poker, you can play Five Finger.
See, now that is the
knife game.
the thing that took hours of my fucking day playing the Red Dead Redemption. Playing Texas Hold'em. It's
Yeah.
like, why am I doing this?
Right.
Like, I'd waste an hour and be like,
Yeah.
what the fuck am I doing
Yeah,
with
just
my
the other
those
day
options,
I played
though.
45 minutes of poker in Red Dead Redemption. I'm like, I'm literally playing an online poker game right now. In the theme
so
of a
dumb.
Western.
I was doing a scripted fishing event, and I didn't realize I could just quit whenever I wanted, so I fished for like 30 minutes. When is it enough fish? I just kept, I'm like, when does this end? And
You
so-
teach a man to fish, you can fish forever.
Yeah.
But I will say, just like what I've been doing is I go out into the wilderness for like days on end, in-game days on end, and you can tame wild horses, you can hunt, you can skin, and everything is so detailed. Like, it's not like you're just pressing a button and then you get the skin in your inventory. Like, you see the animation of him skinning the animal into slow, and that's what I like about it, is actually the pace and just the rhythm to the game, where it's like it makes you do these things. Like, if you want to cook some meat, you got to set up your campfire and then you got to hold the meat over the fire for like 30 seconds to get one piece of meat.
I don't know, man. That does not necessarily sound like my idea of a fun time in a video game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all about the immersion. And if you want, some of the shortcutty video game aspects, like, you're not going to enjoy it as much, because like there is fast travel in this game, but you have to unlock it. You have to like pay for something to unlock it, or you can ride on trains and that kind of thing.
Wait, like what? Like real money or in game?
No,
in-game.
in-game currency.
Like, you have to
luckily.
upgrade.
Yeah, upgrade your camp.
Oh, that's not that bad. No,
No, but you
Well,
don't get
I'm
it
not-
unlocked from the very beginning, and some people that's more important than others. But really, I mean, if you just get into the immersion in the rhythm of this game, you start to get lost in it, and you feel like you're actually in the Wild West.
But hold on, I have ADD. I just drank a Red Bull. I've got my podcast playing. I've got a movie playing on my laptop.
Well,
and you're telling me I can't fast travel in this game?
Yeah.
That's not the kind of game it is.
Sure, but like, I don't want to play Grand Theft Auto and be like, all right, I just woke up, I gotta brush my teeth, get down to the
I
car.
do. I love the nitty gritty.
Oh, man.
I saw such a cool GIF online talk about the detailed world of a deer who couldn't escape because it had caught its antlers in another dead deer's carcass.
Oh, my God.
I mean, so who is programming that?
Right. That's
That
what I'm saying.
happens
The
in
level
real
of
life.
detail in this game has never been seen before. Like, you shoot a shopkeeper in the leg, and then you leave, and then you come back the next day to like finish him off. He's got a wooden leg where his leg was.
Oh, no way. I
Yeah.
haven't seen that yet.
It's insane, the level of detail.
So I've been playing a lot. Colin's been playing a lot. Jacob's been playing a lot. I do have criticisms about it, and it's kind of what we're discussing here. What's your expectation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm an adult human with a job and a life and shit that needs to get done.
Yeah.
And I find it hard for me sometimes with the pace because everything takes so long. Yeah, I got to brush my teeth. I got to cook the meat, right? It's like this game, having to ride the horses from A to B, to me is very boring. And I know maybe that's a hot take because it's a cowboy game. You're going to ride a horse.
Could you sit down and play the game for an hour and be satisfied? Or is that-
No, I would need 3 hours to be satisfied with a session. In
So
this
it's not
game.
like you could just turn it on, have an hour-long session, be done.
I would feel like I was just getting.
I would feel good about it, though, with
You
what
would?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Depends
me,
on what you do.
in an hour, I feel like I could put on my outfit, get my horse ready, ride into town, and talk to an NPC and get halfway through a mission. I
Yeah.
feel I could do that in an hour. I would not complete one mission.
I just goose girls, honestly.
It depends
I just
on how
chase
you
girls
prioritize your
around and
time
I could
with
do
these
that for an
games.
hour. It's
Okay,
fine.
you two are fucking maniacs. Jacob's favorite thing about the game is you watch animals get skinned, and you're just chasing women.
I like to see where they go and sleep at night, and then I kind of creep around. I try to get in. It's pretty.
Listen,
cool
I
and
will say,
interesting.
I don't know. I
it's-
think our experiences would be a lot different in this
I will
game.
say I spend unusually long periods of time in this game doing things that other people might not be doing. Like I spend like 45 minutes at a time, like picking out an outfit for my guy, and like
That's the
For the day,
more
or
than
is
you
that
have,
the
guys.
outfit he will wear?
no,
one
that's
mission.
the first time when I wanted to
Yeah.
get like a really nice outfit for my guy. I spent a long time looking through the
Joe,
outfits.
you
There's
go
so
to a
many
haberdashery.
he was so good.
He really deserved
I
it.
really wanted to get him the nice outfit.
But think about this, Joe. You go to a haberdashery, you pick out that outfit.
Say that word again.
Haberdashery.
There's 9 different coat options with 9 different color combinations for each one. It's
You
insane.
rent a room.
That's 181 coats.
You rent a room at the saloon to put on that outfit. You take a bath.
Take a
You're
bath,
taking
you have
a
this
bath.
lady come
You
in
have
and
an
bathe you
option to
sometimes.
bring a woman in to scrub you. I mean, it's like you're playing and you're like, well, I didn't intend for any of this to happen, but fucking 2 hours have gone by, and I guess
And all I did
this
was
is my
take a
life.
bath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Listen,
man.
I've spent so much of my time customizing this game. I've customized my guns down to the color of the
cool.
metal and the
So
engravings
cool.
on them.
That's true. So it is deep, right? You can customize
so-
the
I mean,
barrel
that seems
color,
like
stocks.
cool.
But have you
Like,
guys
also
ever
you
seen-
like braided your horse's hair, right?
yeah, and he looks great, and he's a good boy, and I brush
his
him.
name?
You can brush
I
your
named my
horse.
main horse, which is because Cole got the pre-order, so we got a special free horse from the pre-order. It's this gray horse. I love him. I call him Greywind, which is a Game of Thrones reference. But
Very cool. But let me
Yeah.
ask you this: have you guys ever seen the movie Silverado? Kevin Kline.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
So it's like a '90s. It's by Lawrence Kasdan, the guys who just did Solo. You know, the Star Wars writers. It was their attempt at we'll make westerns like super cool. It's super dope. Kevin Kline's quest in that movie is to get his hat back. I mean, it's those finer
oh,
details.
you lose your hat constantly. in this
yeah,
game.
but still, you know,
Yeah, that's
it's-
one complaint I've
it's
heard. Is
Simple
like, I
enough.
spent 45 minutes picking out a hat and I lost the fucking thing.
You're in that
Well,
world.
you
You,
can-
have pride of it. That's the cool part.
Can you tie it down though? Like,
Well,
how do
just
you-
in case
No.
anyone doesn't know, you can when you get on your horse, you can go to the options and put your hat back on, even if you lost it. So I don't know if people
so you don't have to
know
like
that.
go
No,
chase
no,
it
no.
down.
No. You just put it back on in the menu system.
Second to Dark Souls, this is the most cryptic explanation of how the game works I've
Oh, the
ever
menus
fucking
are
seen.
very confusing. It takes a long time to get used to them.
when you put your hat back on.
You got to get on your horse, press L1, press R1 to go to your item inventory.
Yeah,
then
literally.
Hold left down.
Hold
then
on,
let go.
Mike. So you're hitting on a complaint I have
Tough
with
to
the
play.
video game. Let me tell you this, Jacob. How do you feel about the controls? I find the controls to be annoying.
They were
Yeah.
very hard to get into. I've played probably, I would say over 12 hours this game, probably more than that. And I'm just now getting used to some of the menus and some of the control systems.
Or the quick
in this
keys
game.
and quick commands.
And this game's only been out for about a week and a half at this point.
Yeah, I constantly find myself like just walking through town and then like, what's the menu? And I just fucking shoot somebody, and now all the cops are after me. And it's like, I didn't want to do that.
So when left trigger is
Yeah.
just to pull out your gun, and right trigger is to shoot super fast.
It depends on the situation because sometimes they do other things. It depends on
But
if
my
you're on your
issue with
horse or
that
not.
is, aren't we getting to the point with controllers where everything should be pressure based? You know, that it's the lighter
Tap
finesse
versus
touch.
press.
It's exactly.
There is some of that. Like in
Hold.
some of the story missions, there's quick time events where you have to slowly draw your gun to like shoot a gun out of someone's hand.
Pull R2 slowly.
Yeah.
But as technology develops, do you guys have an issue if it becomes more fine motor control based? I've seen a lot of people complain about the elements of the Switch, people with handicaps saying motion controls are unfair. I cannot use those.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have a
Xbox
Switch.
and Microsoft have made a huge push in the last year for controllers that are for everyone to play. Like they have a handicapped friendly controller that they
That's
put out.
wonderful.
And I think like if you're going to make that a part of a game, which I think you should, I think that's cool. You just got to make sure everyone can do it.
Or make sure you can turn it off.
Yeah. Or make sure you
Yeah,
can
or
turn
something
it
like
off.
that.
But like, you know, if Microsoft can get their shit together to make a handicap friendly controller, I think every company should be able to.
Well, Bill Gates is out there solving all the world's disease problems.
Yeah,
as well.
malaria.
That's true.
He would
Let me
be the
figure this
guy
out,
with the
too.
company that would do that.
But yeah, to get back to Red Dead Redemption, I
Bloodborne.
don't actually have a problem with the controls.
I do.
Once you get used to them,
Yeah.
it gets a lot better. Like at first, it's a steep learning curve on some of the controls in this game.
Definitely.
But I think once you play it for a while,
Punishing,
you
though.
get used to it.
You know, to put yourself in a situation where it's like, I just want to pet this dog or wave hi to somebody, and instead I shot a woman in the town square and
Hey,
the
it
police are
happens.
coming. It's like,
Yeah, I don't know.
why?
Petting dogs is not really something I'm dying to do in video.
I am.
No, you
I
can
am.
pet your horse in this game. You can brush it. I brush my horse all the time.
I brush
feed
and feed it apples all the fucking
If you don't brush
time.
your horse, it gets sad, and then its stats
For real?
go down, and it'll like
Yeah,
not obey you.
And if your horse gets dirty, you got to brush it. Listen, one complaint I have in this game, you can only stable 4 horses at a time. I have a
Only
big problem with
4?
that.
And you are in
Only
love
4.
with horses.
No,
Wow.
because
I wanna
I'm
name
not-
them each
I'm not
after
a
My Little
huge
Pony.
horse fan, but
Jacob's got real horse girl energy right now.
no. I'm not a horse girl or a horse guy. I do like horses; they're all right. But my point is, okay. So one of the things I like to do in this game, I go out in the wilderness. I spend 6 days at a time just hunting. You can tame wild horses in this game, which is really fun to me. So I tame wild horses. I ride them back to the stable. I sell them. But if I had a bigger stable, I could have 12 horses at a time.
You could have a ranch. Jacob, you could be a rancher. That'd be great.
Yeah. And you can get different colors, different breeds and everything. I'm trying to get the fastest horse, and I want a pure black, super fast horse. That's my goal in this game.
I'll tell you,
What do you
everything
call it,
you're
Shadow
saying
Fact?
sounds like really boring and terrible to me. But what we're watching on the screen right now was a bar fight in a
yeah, that's
gameplay
fine,
video.
that's fine.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
You want to get in a saloon bar fight, get thrown
Yeah.
out a window, you could do that. I've yet to
story
have my
elements are
high noon
cool.
showdown in the middle of town.
Yeah,
I'm
see, I
waiting
want
for
more
that.
stuff like that, less like
Well, it's
all
all,
there.
it's not all
Sims
the
in the
stuff.
Old West.
It's not the Sims. I'm not saying that, but I mean, horses are cool. But
Real quick, hey, do you guys know my stance on horses? I love all westerns, like I mentioned, the clothes, the guns, everything.
Yeah.
I hate horses. Do you guys know why?
They're just
Why?
big dogs.
because horses killed Superman.
That's right, Joe. Because horses
Wow,
killed
that's
Superman,
true.
and I will never let that go.
no, that was
It
is that
breaks
the
my
horse's
heart.
fault or
Yes!
is that his fault?
No, it was the horse's
It's Superman's fault he got kicked by a horse.
He was
dare
riding.
you.
Wasn't he riding
He
the
fell
horse?
off it.
I thought the horse.
Yeah, anyone who rides a horse, if they get hurt riding the horse, that's kind of their own fault.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And
They're
anybody that
dangerous.
gets annoyed with how slow this game is playing, it's kind of your fault because you
Yeah,
bought it.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
it's not the game for you. Maybe you should play fucking Fortnite.
Stop riding horses.
Play Fortnite, you normie.
Oh no.
Yeah. And the other thing is like this game is normie as shit. I mean, like
I never said it wasn't normie. It's
No,
a
that's what's
huge
cool
selling
about it.
game.
Yeah,
but
I love
yeah,
that
that's what I'm
about it.
saying. Like it
It's
is
mainstream.
Are we talking game of the year? I mean, is it?
oh, absolutely, it's got to be a contender.
Even
I
though-
can't think of a better game.
Can
that
we
came out
name
this year.
maybe the big three this year is probably God of War,
Yep.
Spider-Man, and Red Dead. Red Dead from the
See, those other two
size.
don't sound that interesting. to me.
Yeah. Well, would you know that God of War is also open world?
Joe's gonna
It's just
fight.
much
Yeah,
smaller.
no, I've seen that. It looks okay, but
2 Sony exclusives and a mainstream.
I mean,
on
this
a
is
Rockstar
The
monster.
Witcher in 2015. This is 2018's The Witcher. Like, this is the game of the year.
I mean, I'll definitely get there. It's a game I do want to check out.
Well, I mean, it
it
depends on how much you like the first one. It's very much like the first one, but just more expansive. The first one,
but I agree with Mike. I was frustrated by, I don't want to ride out 45 minutes into the desert because I'm dicking around doing something dumb. My horse dies, and it's like, well, I guess I'll just kill myself.
I'll just walk back.
Hold on, let me throw this to you,
your horse
though,
doesn't
Joe.
die that much.
I've seen you do that in Grand Theft Auto where you crash your car and you're doing crazy cheats. Isn't it exactly the same? But it's just in the Old West.
Well, that's the thing. If you just want to fuck around Grand Theft Auto style, this isn't really the game for that. You can do that, and I've done that where I've saved the game. You can, but I've saved the game and then done that and then reloaded the save because it does screw up a lot of things for you. Like there's a morality system. There is like you can be a bad guy, but then you're gonna get huge bounties on your head. You're gonna be wanted everywhere. You're gonna have bounty hunters.
I want to play a whole game where you just go through being fucking villainous.
So let's say first,
I like the idea of just hunting down. Bounties.
That's part of it too.
Being a bounty hunter sounds dope. To me.
Every town has.
I'm not trying to feed my horse apples or pet it or braid its hair, but I'll
you can do all of that though. That's the whole point. Is
but
you can do
even
all
cooler.
of it.
You kill somebody, you have to pick up the body, you have to put it on the back of the horse. You travel,
turn in the bounty.
Yeah, exactly.
You lasso someone. You hog time. You put him on the back. You take him back for the bounty.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to this game.
Oh, Jacob brings him back alive. Interesting.
So let's talk the morality system. First playthrough, are you white hat or black hat? Are you doing the right thing or the wrong thing?
I'm like down the middle, I guess, because you'll have side characters coming up to me and be like, "Oh, help me," blah blah blah, and I'll be like, "Sure, I'll help you." But sometimes I'm just like, I see a lone horseman on the trail, I'm like, give me your fucking money. And then if they
so you're a bad guy if you think no one's watching, basically.
Yeah, because the system in this game, like basically if you commit a crime and there's a witness, they will try to run back and tell the authorities. So you can apprehend those witnesses, and if you take them down, then there's no one to report your crime.
So you're a good guy as long as there are no witnesses.
That's what this game kind of trains you to be.
In the public eye, I'm a great guy.
Yeah. If we're talking white hat and black hat, I didn't mention this before, but here's my theory when we're talking Westworld. Like, if people are like, what would you do in Westworld?
I would be a bad guy in Westworld.
You want to be a patron, you're paying all that money, shooting up robots. Here's the only way I think people should play Westworld. I think when you go there and put on the cowboy outfits, just convince other people you're one of the robots. That's the only way to play
the robots
That's
don't
great.
know they're robots.
Well, sure, exactly. But you're just being very general. No, but you're just like, come on, man, we'll do this. Like, oh, this is one of those helpless replicants or whatever. And then when they try to shoot you, you turn on them. That's the only way to play Westworld.
Jacob, you can go tame horses.
Yes, that's why you start strangling the other humans.
Wow. Yeah, you could just pretend that you're taming horses as a robot.
Yeah.
Look, I do everything. I tame horses. I hunt animals. I'm trying to hunt down the 16 legendary animals in this game.
What are they,
special...
like Bigfoot?
No, it's just legendary versions.
No,
like,
it's
there's
like
the legendary
a giant
bear, the legendary elk, the legendary crocodile.
Bigfoot, a dragon.
Yeah, legendary.
Oh, no,
shit,
it's not
the
that. Dragon. Run, John Marston.
If I can...
To me, this game is very realism based, and it's very trying to be as realistic as possible about the era.
I always slow down time when I shoot people too.
Yeah. Well, what's realistic about it is it really reminds me why I'm glad I don't ride horses every day, because it's fucking boring.
Why you don't live in
I don't think it's boring,
True,
though.
but they don't have to deal with the traffic of the 101.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, is it any less interesting than riding a car around in Grand Theft Auto 5?
Driving a taxi.
They're both trash compared to web swinging through New York
and
City.
that's true. So let's look at Spiderman.
I guess it's just a matter of personal.
The scowls Jacob and I just got, and the smiles on Joe and Mike's face.
Yeah.
Fucking bullshit.
I'm just saying, like,
let me make an argument, all right? Spider-Man is a game where you can jump in and in 1 hour do 6 side missions, swing around the city, get a lot done. It feels like you get a lot done in that hour. And the traversal is fun. Just swinging around is fun. For me, Red Dead is very big. It takes me an hour to maybe get one thing done, and the traversal feels taxing. So they're opposites, where Spider-Man has a smaller dense map, but it's more dense per square mile.
I mean, you're just doing, that's comparing New York City to the old
all
West.
of it. Yeah.
Sure.
So
yeah. For me, I had to disagree. I love just riding around on the horse.
I just don't have time for it, man.
The scenery is beautiful. I don't think it takes that much time.
Jacob, I'm with you. When I play Zelda Breath of the Wild, half of it is the fact that I am in my small, dingy LA apartment. There's fucking smog outside. I haven't seen a goddamn green tree in forever. And it's just gorgeous to be out there and live it.
Yeah. It is a beautiful game. This game looks gorgeous.
And this game to me, it's like, to go back to Deadwood, like Deadwood is super atmospheric of that era. This game feels like you're living in Deadwood almost. It's like you can do anything you want to do. You can go around, you can camp, you can cut your beard into weird styles, you can stab people.
Yeah.
You can do everything.
If you like stabbing, you would like this game.
And stabbing,
All
man.
very normal.
I mean, like, I'll definitely get to it. It's
Yeah.
definitely something I'm excited
have
about.
to.
I'm not trying to shit on it at all.
I am a little bit, but just for fun.
I shit on
I
the
love it.
hype because
I
I
love
do
it, though.
wonder
I love it.
what people find interesting about it. Like the normie thing of like you guys are debating
It
right
did get
now.
hyped a bunch.
Well, is it cool? Like, do people want to live in Western time? I have no idea. I
Maybe
do.
because there
I
hasn't
like
been a
it.
game like this in a
People
while.
want to live in Western times until they think about, like, indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
more like Westworld. Like you
Dysentery.
want to go to Westworld and act out the West, but you don't want to live there.
No.
Do you guys have to, like, take shits and sleep and, like, all that kind of
No,
stuff?
we
do
have
have
to
to sleep.
sleep. You don't
Hey,
take shit.
can I tell you?
I love how you're laughing at that, but if you don't pet your
No.
horse, it gets sad.
Yeah.
No, but you're laughing about this small mundane stuff. One of the worst things people could critique about it that I like the most, I like doing the chores. I like cutting the wood.
Yeah, you do
I like
chores.
you have to cut a lot of wood for your caravan, make sure that the dishes are washed and shit like that. And it's
Wow.
like,
Can you come
I
over
don't
and do
know,
my
fucking
chores?
yeah. I'll
no,
tell
Mike,
ya.
because I'm
I'll
not
give
getting
you 6
stronger.
fake
I'll give you a
gold.
cowboy hat.
No, again, to go back to the hunting. You know,
I will
you
buy
skin
you
the
one
animals.
good boy outfit if you come over and do my chores every week.
Oh man! All right, I guess for me to summarize, right? I think it's a great game. It is fantastic.
I mean, we can't hit or shit it. It's a hit, guys.
It's a hit.
gigantic.
And the
so,
criticisms-
yeah, it's inarguable.
Exactly.
And I, when this game came out, I thought, oh, this will be fun. I'll play it. I did not think I would enjoy it as much as I am, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
But you got it day one. I mean, like,
Yeah,
but
my
not by his
roommate bought
choice.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, oh, I'll play it. Like, I wasn't planning. Well, I was going to buy it. I mean, probably with the reception that I got, I would have bought it, but I wasn't planning to, like, pre-order it.
Yeah.
I was so.
Yeah, so Mike, you were day one release.
I
as well.
played Red Dead 1 100%. I killed all the legendary animals. I caught all the legendary. I did everything in that
The
game.
Bigfoots,
that was
the
my
dragons.
favorite game that year. The Bigfoots and the dragons. Yeah.
No, I liked Red Dead 1
I'd
a
give
lot.
anything for that to be the DLC.
You kept your
in
horses
this
happy.
new one.
Yeah. I think I'm just at also a different place in my life where Red Dead 1, I was freelancing and I was home a lot. So I was
Yeah.
able just to play it on my time, in my terms, Skyrim
But
style.
when
Yeah,
you're given
something like
10 to
this
12
now.
hours of your day to an office, you
It's
don't
a
want to
big
come home
buy-in.
and do your chores in a video game.
Yeah, exactly. For me. But it's excellent. And like Jacob's been saying, there's so much to do. You don't have to do the boring shit. If you want to
Yeah.
go get bounties, you can. You want to get in gunfights, you can. So
I haven't even done, like, I do story missions, but I'm about 20% through the story, and I feel like I haven't really done anything yet. And I've just been doing a ton of side stuff. You know, like I said, I spend 45 minutes customizing my character. To me, that's fun. Maybe to other people, they would see it as boring.
I gotta play dress up with my dolly. But like, no,
Remember
I love
Little
picking
Pony?
an outfit too. I want to look fucking cool. I want to look like Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood. You know,
Exactly. I've got the Clint Eastwood hat, the flat top.
that's true.
guys,
they do have references to
guys,
other westerns.
I saw a guy do Woody.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
the Woody on the.
And I saw, I saw you can do the facial hair of Kurt Russell from
very
Hateful
cool.
Eight and
I
all
want
that.
an eye patch. I want it to be True Grit.
And
Yeah.
see, when you kill animals,
Where's
then you
your
can get
Cogburn?
their hats. You can get their skins as hats. So if you kill a bear, you can get a cool bear hat.
I'm dying for the Daniel Boone
that's
hat.
something that just pop. I don't know that wear that bear hat in the Wild West
Oh, you
stuff.
didn't think they had
it's
bear
from
hats?
True Grit, but that became so popular all of a sudden that I kind of rolled my eyes at that.
Yeah, it's a little cringy. To me.
If I was a trapper though, if we're talking real old west, and I killed a bear, I'm gonna roll into town with that bear. Like it was me.
It was me.
And that's the
don't
other thing. When
fuck
you're
with me.
collecting skins, when you put your skin on a horse,
Oh,
it
no.
doesn't just go into the inventory.
No,
you
you
skin
see
your
it.
horse? Is that?
Oh yeah,
Why
dude.
would you want to skin
That'd be
your horse?
terrible.
Cold winter.
No,
You hate horses.
you skin a deer.
Over here, like I'm skinning
Like a
deers, but
normal
I
person.
can't skin a dog.
Well,
I
like,
hate horses.
The Wampa got me,
Horses
so I cut
are
my horse.
domesticated animals, and people love them. Listen,
But
you
in the
skin
Wild
your- you
West.
skin your deer. It doesn't just go into your inventory. You put it on the back of your
And you
horse, and,
see
it's
it
represented
sitting
there.
on your
That's
horse.
important to me too, though. I get
I
what
mean,
Jake
yeah,
is
that
saying.
is
so
cool.
Adds an
detailed.
immersion.
And when you
That
pick
the
up something in the
details
game, you're
don't
actually
disappear.
picking that thing up. It's
That's
so
cool.
much more advanced.
That to
than-
me is cool.
If you think about the
Cooking
Fallout,
steak for 30
Skyrim
seconds is
era,
not.
yeah, but just think about how much games have improved just in the last 5 years, the last 10 years. It's
The last
insane.
5 minutes, man. I mean,
Yeah.
this stuff is a constantly evolving art form now.
This is a thing. Like people, you could do 10 hours on this game. There's just so much there.
Yeah, and to me, this game is a huge step forward in the next generation of where games are going.
I have a fear that I don't want all games like this. I don't want
Well, not
every
all
game
games
to
are
be an
like
open
this.
world.
Well, not every game is an open world.
Right. And I don't want Game of the Year to be required to be a big open world. With
It
all
doesn't
that
have to be.
stuff.
It doesn't have to be.
man. I do
No, I'm
want
with
to-
Mike. I think that's the
I'm
way it
worried
goes,
that's
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
But
I'm-
like, think about open world games that are massively successful. You got Spider-Man, Red Dead, Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I mean,
Yeah,
is that an open
that's
world
an open
game?
world game, absolutely.
Like to me, I think there's a balance between.
The Witcher and
there's only so many of those games per year, though. Like not every.
But they're
game's
all
gonna-
getting
they're
Game
all
of the Year nods.
contenders, though.
Well,
It's not like you're gonna get.
Yeah, we're getting into
Is this the
superhero
formula, like
blockbuster
Oscar bait?
territory. Yeah,
Right.
it might be true.
But I mean, it's been like that. I mean, what game came out this year that's better than this game? What game came out in 2015 that was better than Witcher 3?
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate maybe will be better.
The smile on my face right now.
There you go.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I mean, I haven't played this game, but Spider-Man is a massive success.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing Spider-Man as well.
God of War, massive success.
I think for the general critics and the general public, this is Game of the Year, though. I mean, just the depth of systems.
Also,
the
I
amount
think
you can
everyone's
do.
like really fucking hot on it because it just came out. Like, I would wait a couple weeks to see
Yeah.
when the hype dies
But
down a little bit.
Grand Theft
Yeah, I
Auto
don't know, man. The
5
hype
got
is,
game of the Year. It must
Yeah.
have, certainly.
All
Maybe.
right. Well, we definitely are recommending Red Dead.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, and just build your own experience, right?
Yeah, don't listen to the criticisms.
Well, listen to them.
Pet your horse.
Wow, that got
10
very
out of 10 scores.
that got
And
very
Jacob's
fake
like,
newsy.
No. yeah.
Pet your horse if
It's
you
great.
want. If you want to
Huge
spend
games.
if you want to spend 45 minutes dressing up your guy and braiding
that's
your
fine,
horse's
yeah.
tail,
You want to buy
you're
your boy a
allowed
nice
to do
outfit
that.
and
but
pet your
also
horses
criticize
and
it.
feed him apple.
And then see, I dress like a fancy boy, and then I go around and I stab people, and I say I'm not as fancy as you think.
I dress like a dirty boy and then go help everybody and say, I'm not as dirty as you think. These kids need beds.
wow, these guys are.
Hey, my final
Really
question
complex
to you
characters.
guys: point of view. Are you doing first or third?
Third person.
It's got to be third.
Third, yeah.
It's same. I got to see
I mean,
my
I haven't
guy.
played it, but like,
Here's another
I
tip
play
for
a
you.
fucking open world game in
Yeah.
first person. No,
Let me
That's
get-
how I did Skyrim,
That's how
but in this
Skyrim
I
is.
just can't do it.
No,
I would
I
have
prefer
no
third
interest
person,
in doing
and then you
Skyrim,
can't
yeah.
see your
Fancy
outfit.
boy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spend 45 minutes on an outfit.
That's
and I
actually
see
a
my
problem I
gloves.
had with Skyrim because I would put on some cool armor and then I would go into first person. Like, I can't
Jacob,
see my armor.
are you interested in the clothes in Red Dead?
What about the horses?
But listen. Here's another tip for you
Yes.
for the audience here. If you do have a problem with the horse riding, which I don't, I personally enjoy the repetitiveness of just.
I like tapping X every 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, but here's a tip.
Because you gotta like kick your horse.
No, no,
in
but-
rhythm with its running. But
Here's the tip. Here's the tip. If you don't want to do that, if you have a problem with it, you go into cinematic mode. And in PlayStation, that's the big button in the middle. You hold down X while you're traveling, then you push the cinematic mode. You go into cinematic mode, which brings the bars in, and then it drives your horse for you to the destination that you're going. So you can put the controller down and just
Play
wait.
another video game that has things happening.
You can play
It's
Spider-Man
not
where
for
you
everyone.
don't just
It's
press
like-
X to travel.
Okay, but if you're watching a movie that's a
Yes.
slow-moving movie, are you going to say, "Man, I wish this movie had more things going on in it"? Maybe that's the kind of movie you want to watch. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a
to
fair
me, there's a
point.
big difference between movies and video games, though. When I'm playing something, I don't want it to be slow moving.
Well, then don't play this game. Then
I
don't know.
personally,
All right, that's it. Jacob
I want
says
that
don't play
line
this
to
game.
blur.
Final recommendation: don't play this game.
Wow, Jacob, I thought you loved it.
If you want action every second, maybe it's not the game for you. If you want to be fully immersed in the
Yeah.
life of this cowboy, then that's the kind of game that they're
Yeah.
going for. That's the kind of game it is. You know?
All right.
Something like an Assassin's Creed that comes out every year. I roll my eyes at that.
This is an event.
Exactly. It was so hyped up. It took so long. Mike, you took it. It's an event.
Yeah. So we recommend it. We've talked a lot about Red Dead. I would be remiss if I don't mention the greatest Western game of all time, the Oregon Trail.
That's good.
That's a true immersive simulation. You can overhunt the buffalo. Don't you forget?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
If there's a part in Red Dead 2
Oh.
where it says, like, do you want to ford the river? I would be so fucking happy.
Those
Yeah,
games would be out
dysentery.
already. Yeah.
I wonder if they do have any Easter eggs to Oregon Trail.
I mean, like Mike
much.
said, I think we would have seen it already.
Yeah,
at this
let
point.
us know.
If the
Normies, if
game's
you
been
find
out
it.
for more than 48
Yeah.
hours, someone has played it for a total of 48 hours.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe even more than that. They somehow hacked it.
You
So,
animals.
guys, Red Dead, great. Also, check out Gun, Call of War as Gunslinger. Those are some good Western games if you want something more action-based.
Wild Arms, I love those RPGs as a kid.
That's right. JRPGs set in the Western world. So, Red Dead's the talk of the town. It's the rootin' scootin', hootin' tootin', hollering good time right now.
shoot.
Yeehaw,
That's
motherfucker.
right.
Yeehaw, we're going to go and talk the
Yeehaw.
comics around the Western
Bloodborne.
genre.
we've talked all about the movies, the video games. Now we're going to step into the general store, walk down to the comic book aisle, and talk a little bit about the comic history with Westerns. Now, before the age of superheroes, comic books were basically broken down into two categories. You had your horror books, your Frankenstein's monster, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and you had your Cowboys and Indians. You know,
and it was
classic
something like
books.
Kid Colt or Kid Two Pistols,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
yeah, something like that.
And these were, I mean, in the time before Marvel Comics, back when it was just timely comics, that's the kind of stuff that people were really reading. These were some of the original pulp comic books.
Gotcha. And then is this during the John Ford era of Westerns? Or is it even before
it's
that?
the 1950s.
This is the
Stan
50s.
Lee himself was like, it's the Silver Age, baby. Like, people love Westerns. I'm going to capitalize on that.
Hi-ho Silver Age.
Hi-ho Silver Bullet, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And it was interesting stuff. There's a lot of seminal works, like by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, the guys who made Captain America for Atlas Comics. Did a really goofy run called Boys Ranch, which was a very long-loved comic book that was from young people's perspective. Yeah,
That
growing up on the range.
That sounds like a weird, like Korean drama, Boys Ranch.
But it's the stuff that they were tapping into. Like in
Yeah.
our Captain America episode, Joe, we talked about how they were doing stuff with Bucky, young people at the time, because nobody else was doing it. So Jack Kirby was just like, this is an entry point for people. People
kids
love
like
this.
comics.
Yeah.
Let's give them something that they can relate to.
Give them the last name Kid, and we're off to the races.
I'm telling you, like,
Quick
Sarah
draw
Kid, all
Kid.
that bullshit.
Yeah.
And even further back, like I was talking about at the top with the real history, newspapers published comics, daily strips that were about the Western heroes of the time. Wild Bill Hickok had a run, Wyatt Earp himself, all those familiar names. And I'm sure they're great. When I think about that stuff, I think of like really dirty yellow paper and like smells and stuff. So in my mind, like I would never even give that stuff a shot. Yeah. But modern Western comics, something like Preacher, So that is set in Texas, in Annville, Texas. Steve Dillon and is the artist on that. And, you have an Irishman writing the perspective of a Texas preacher who speaks to the ghost of John Wayne. Is that a Western comic book? It sounds like it to me.
I mean, they hit the road. They have a cast of misfit characters that team up.
Vampires.
It's sure, but it's playing on a lot of the iconography. Like they're in an old car. It's an old black horse. I mean, like it's all there. I think it's definitely inspired by Westerns. You got to at least admit that.
Oh, if we're talking about that, then we're talking about Japanese. With the manga, they are very obsessed with Western culture being blurred with sci-fi. Something like Trigun, Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop.
Fucking Cowboy and fucking
yeah, I mean, it's like, Jesus Christ. But they're not riding horses. There's nothing
Space
like
dandy.
that. They're truly just in starships. Yeah. Vampire Hunter D, that's something. Mike, have you ever read that?
Yeah, well, I've not read it, but I've seen the anime.
I love that first movie.
With it, yeah.
He's riding around on a mechanical horse through the desert. Is that a Western? It must be.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
I mean, there are the old... the first Ghost Rider who was on a pale horse.
Yeah, did you guys ever see that movie where they get Sam Elliott to play the gravekeeper who plays the original version of him on a horse? So cool.
Let me say, I love Sam Elliott. It's like an underrated Western actor, too. Yeah. He's got the best mustache in the biz.
He plays the cowboy, quote unquote, in Big Lebowski. Is that a Western?
Right.
I mean, it's like, come on, guys.
But again, that's, like it does borrow iconography. A lot of these, like Coen Brothers, Quentin Tarantino, all
maybe
these
you can't
took
separate,
stuff from that.
American culture from the Western.
Yeah.
And you can't separate American culture from comic books. I mean, that's stuff that kids grew up on that, we're still doing today. Like one series from 2015, when they were doing the Secret Wars event, Marvel launched a book called Marvel 1872. Whole thing takes place in the Old West. You got Steve Rogers as a sheriff of a town that's run by the corrupt Wilson Fisk. You got...
there's a blind lawyer there. I wonder who that character is inspired by. Yeah. There's a sheriff who's gone insane and carved a bullseye into his forehead.
Who's that?
Interesting.
There's, Doc Octopus, Doc Holiday ripoff.
Oh,
there.
wow.
Joe, I'm very glad you bring that up.
He's got an 8-shot revolver, I bet.
Yeah, I'm sure. I want to talk about that series. It's in the Marvel Now run. Those are the comics that I collect. Yeah. The series itself gets brought back to Battlegrounds, which is a spin-off of the War Zone's 4 Secret world where you're getting the day-to-day life of those worlds while weaving into the overall narrative of Secret World, which is an amalgam of different dimensions.
And just to make this a little easier to understand, if you don't know what we're talking about at all, they did an event where every universe got smashed into one universe called Battle Earth. Or Battlegrounds.
Battlegrounds, yeah.
So that's where this Old West world was intersecting with all these other worlds.
Or, I'm sorry, Battle World.
Yeah, Battle World.
So the issue that I have with it, I wonder if it is a cash grab to do things like that when they bring back characters like Red Wolf. So Red Wolf is basically the only Native American superhero in Marvel canon.
G.I.
Other
Joe.
than Wyatt Wingfoot. Sure, a G.I. Joe-esque
Marvel,
character. Right? Yeah, they had that license for a while.
For a while.
But strictly, created in-house for them. He's a Native American tracker with heightened senses who can sort of communicate with his wolf brethren. That character, because of how Secret World works, the merging of realities, has continued on. He is now a character in Marvel 616. Is that the grab of it, to have a character like that?
The whole
now?
point of that book was to bring Red Wolf back to continuity.
Yes.
Because he was a character in the 70s. So they built this world to be like, so this is where they come from. I mean, it was also a way to take characters that became massively popular, like Miles Morales, and dip them back into the main continuity by saying, no, all these weird universes are now intersecting, and we're just going to cherry pick the things we like
and bring them
keep
back.
them in continuity.
Yeah. And God, wouldn't it be great if we had some Native American readers? Let's grab Red Wolf.
Yeah.
And that to me is pretty cynical because the way that it was presented, it's like he's the greatest character Marvel ever made in these comics. It's like him and Steve Rogers, only they could come together to solve this. Steve Rogers, spoiler alert, killed in that run, so doesn't even make it through it. Tony Stark, too. Red Wolf becomes the hero. And, again, I'm not criticizing it for highlighting that fact. Good, that's great. That could be great storytelling. But it really, truly just seems desperate to me.
I mean, that was the whole point of the book.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point of Marvel 1872 was to bring Red Wolf back into continuity, which, to me, is fair. I mean, like, you wanted a way to do it, and you wanted a way to do it in an exciting way that would grab people who are like, oh, I'm a Peter Parker fan. He plays a ranch hand who wears red and blue in this universe and tries to stop corruption in this city. I mean, like that... it works. Like, if you're a Captain America fan, seeing Captain America as a sheriff in the Old West, like, that's going to get you. And if they can get people excited about characters that they might not necessarily know through that, more power to them.
Yeah, and I've got dollar signs on my eyes. I'm publishing that. I know I can put that Westworld into the Lego Marvel game that came out, which is about different realities. Oh, man, I can have all those cowboy characters in that. Bam, bam, bam. I'm making so much money. I see what you're saying there, Joe. Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't bother me. I like it. And also, well, let's talk a little bit about the fact that, like, these superhero comics really replaced the cowboy comics. I mean, have superhero movies really replaced cowboys in the movies? I mean,
you hear that a lot.
Isn't the Avengers the Magnificent Seven? It's a group of outcasts that come together to save the little city or town of New York.
Maybe. I mean, that's true. I guess the invading forces, whatever came through that portal.
The Chitauri.
And they kind of reluctantly come together. Yeah, I mean...
And we said Logan earlier. That's something stark landscape again. Is that what draws on this reality? Dark, black tones. I mean, they wanted to shoot that in noir, black and white.
Yeah. I mean, is Old Man Logan, the original comic, takes place in the West. You got hillbilly hulks and a blind samurai called Hawkeye who leads the reluctant Clint Eastwood hero of Logan on an adventure to get revenge on Red Skull. I mean, is that not cigars, a Western?
Yeah. It definitely has a lot of the DNA
He's
of a Western.
working as a ranch hand at the beginning of the movie. Or at the beginning of the comic. In the movie, I mean, he's living,
I mean, yeah, besides the fact that no one is gunslinging and wearing a hat, like, that sounds like a Western. If
he is wearing a hat in the... the cartoon, in the comic. I mean, that is the look of it. Old duster jacket.
That's right. Old Man Logan does have the duster. Yeah, that's definitely the comic's a Western. The film version, you might be able to argue in a different direction, but yeah.
See, I think they make a point to show Westerns on the TV.
They're watching Shane.
Which
no one mentioned in the movie section.
Oh,
we need
can
to
we
mention
say Woody
Shane.
Allen's favorite? I watched that with my dad. Shane is so fucking good.
My uncle would watch Shane every Thanksgiving. That's like it was his thing. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of Shane throughout the years. Yeah. Classic.
So I mean, there are influences in modern comic books from the cowboy days, but their history is there as well.
Yeah.
And then you got stuff like Cowboys and Aliens, which was a kitchen sink book that was a comic book before it was made into a mediocre
that was the
movie.
book. Yeah, with James Bond in it.
Yeah, with James Bond
Daniel Craig. Don't call him James
So
Harrison Ford.
James Bond and Indiana Jones.
I'm going somewhere with this because we said that Wild Wild West was James Bond meets the Western. Then we literally had James Bond meeting the
In
Western.
the Western. I love
that's
it,
all.
Mike.
That's all.
So there are other modern ones, like there's High Noon through DC and Zuma, which is their webcomic brand that's about werewolves and cowboys. But something, I mean, you see it creep over into literature as well. We talked about Stephen King in the Horror Month. Dark Tower, the lead character, Roland Deschain, is literally described as he is Clint Eastwood from another world. He is identical to him. That's the Western genre.
Dark Tower, super Western.
Yeah, I mean, super Western. You know, he's called the Gunslinger.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And the villain is the Man in Black, is he not?
This might be a little left field too, but I think The Walking Dead, the original comic, and even the show has Western influences as well.
Well, and like a lot of those, I think that's a great point, Jacob. A lot of those influences are,
come on.
You know, I mean, it's also pioneering a new world. You know, they are.
And it's like if you
in
compare
Old
the
West,
zombie
essentially.
apocalypse to the Old West, there's a lot of similarities.
You can
there.
survive the unknown, right? With your band, a group, you're setting
and you
up camp.
get your group together and you
Sure,
travel
and the
around.
saviors, a group of bad guys, kind of lean more towards manifest destiny. You know, take what you want. Meanwhile, the expansion is fighting and going up against the elements, the zombies.
Right.
Very good point.
And if you do choose to shelter yourself around others, the danger is that they might stab you in the back, just like a lot of things that happen in
There's
these
not a lot
Westerns.
of trust in the Old West.
Yeah.
Nope, the only thing I can trust is my gun.
And of course,
My
Jonah
horse.
Hex. Jonah Hex,
course,
the
Jonah
greatest
Hex.
Western hero of all time.
Yes, and as you mentioned off pod, Joe, the best Josh Brolin comic book
Oh,
performance
yeah. It
ever.
doesn't get any better than that. Thanos, who, man?
Yeah, we don't need him.
I would say
Deadpool.
Cable,
too.
Cable who?
Sorry, I have Netflix. I've never heard of cable anyway.
And Josh Brolin, also an actor that's in a lot of westerns.
That's
He's in
true.
the True Grit remake. I'm sure he was in others that I can't think of right now.
No
Ned
Country
Pepper.
for Old Men.
No
Is
Country for Old
that
Men, which is a
Western?
modern western.
100%. He wears a cowboy hat. That's all it takes for me now.
All
Set
right.
in the West. It's
I'm
got
gonna,
guns.
yeah. Anytime I make a movie from now on, moving forward, I'm gonna put a cowboy hat somewhere, so I can just be like,
Say,
"It's a
it's a
Western." There's a
Western.
cowboy.
So there
hat.
must be a Western Friday the 13th, right? Somebody had to have had a cowboy hat in one scene. Sure. Well, there's
Freddy's got a weird hat.
Is he a cowboy?
When they did Jason in Space, they should do Jason
in
Jason
the
of
West.
the Old
Jason in the
That's the
West.
13th film. LeBron James.
Oh,
Jeez.
and funny enough, in Red Dead Redemption 2, you can buy basically a Jason mask.
Really?
Yeah, because there's masks you can wear to hide your identity. One of them is literally a Jason mask.
All right.
That doesn't
Well,
make any sense. Why would there be a
It's called
hockey
Psycho
I almost
mask.
kinda
It doesn't-
wonder
It's
if
not a
there's
hockey
a-
mask, but it's called Psycho mask, and it just looks just like
we didn't have hockey in America back then.
There was no ice in the Old West.
We had those
why we had
bag-headed,
warm beer.
Sarsaparillas.
Jonah Hill in Django
yeah, the
wearing those
KKK,
guys.
yeah.
But I almost wonder if that's more of an homage to Heat. You know, those doing heists with those goalie masks.
yeah, they got those.
Interesting.
Yeah, they got a skull. It's like a half skull mask. So
Like
different
Shao
options.
Kahn.
Wow.
Different options for hiding
Alright.
your identity.
Well, since we've already gotten back into Red Dead, why don't we just
screw comics.
mosey on into the wrap up here, where Jacob can tell us about Breaking Wars.
Let me see if I can
What's
bring.
wrong with it?
Yeah.
He rode a blazing saddle. He wore a shining star. His job to offer battle to bad men near and far. He conquered fear and he conquered hate.
All right, guys, it's kind of time to hit the range. Let's talk the wrap-up on the Western genre here. Any final thoughts you guys have? We mentioned it before, Samurais versus Cowboys. We mentioned it before as well, John Wayne versus Clint Eastwood. I'm pretty happy with all the decisions you guys made. We all kind of lean the same way. I wonder if it is our age, being younger guys, you know, kind of having the ability to look back at this genre with mixed feelings. You know, older people would say it's perfect. Now we kind of have the hindsight to say there's a lot of problematic behavior with the Western genre, but there's also a lot to love.
We know
Well,
the
if you're
history
talking about
better.
the racial divisions, the gender divisions within the Old West, like it was a different time, and even in the 60s were a hugely different time, and so maybe people from that generation, they look back with rose-tinted glasses, whereas now we see like, oh, things were pretty messed up for people back then. So
and things are pretty messed up right now. It's kind of getting a little old westy side by side right now, isn't it?
Which I'm curious if we're going to see yet another renaissance of the Western genre here.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Dead's bringing it into the video games. Do you think we'll see outlaw culture kind of make a comeback?
I think we're kind of in an ongoing for the last 10, 20 years. Westerns never really went away, and there's been like maybe op-eds written about, you know, how there's less Westerns and stuff, but there's still every couple years, there's another great Western coming out. I mean, there was the Magnificent Seven with Denzel Washington this year, which was okay.
Who made that movie? Anton Fukunaga? Is that right?
Yes. I was about to say Ty West, one of my favorite directors that we mentioned in the horror genre, made a Western in the Valley of Violence with Ethan Hawke, and that was just 2 years ago. You know, I think a lot of these young filmmakers, like you're saying, Jacob, grew up loving these things and
or went to film school and were
watched enough of them to
them.
say, if I'm lucky enough to actually make one in my career, why wouldn't I take that shot?
Yeah. Another one we did. I don't even think we talked about Bone Tomahawk.
Love Bone Tomahawk. How can we mention Kurt Russell's mustache and not bring up Bone Tomahawk as well?
Same facial hair from that and Hateful Eight, but Bone Tomahawk, great movie. It's a Western horror, you might say.
Very cool.
And we'll, you have to watch that one for yourselves and find out the secrets of it.
Definitely. If I can give my final thoughts on the genre, I mean, I said it. I love the Western as the romanticized vision of, the lone gunslinger, the lone samurai, the Ronin, master wandering from town to town, trying to right what's wrong, right? I just love that. And yeah, obviously, if you look at the actual context of where society was at that point and like all the problems there, fine. But when I look at a Western, it's just more about the hero iconography of good versus evil, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I piggyback off that. There's a lot of like themes of masculinity and the American dream that I think are carried throughout.
How to be a man.
Yeah, and I think that those are interesting to see them evolve and change over the years and have some complicated history there. I would love to see the genre continue to go. Every movie is a Western. Every American movie is boils down to a handful of things.
Star Wars is a great Western.
Yeah, probably one of my favorites.
I love when they meet in a saloon. Puts a hat on.
Yeah.
No, but like Han Solo's in a saloon, right? I mean,
he draws, and then the band literally goes back to it's Canton Dudo song.
Oh, hide in the back of the wagon. We got to get past the government agents, whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's all we don't serve your kind here. Yeah, like not to get too Star Wars is a Western, but every movie's a Western.
Yeah.
Is every movie a Western, or is every Western a movie?
No. Whoa.
Hold on.
Wow.
Hey, Mike, turn the pot off.
Yeah. Is this a Western?
I have two questions I want to pose before we get out of here. One, is there any classic Western that you would like to see remade?
Ooh, okay. Here's a great one. There's a movie called Hombre that is a Paul Newman movie based on an Elmore Leonard novel where he plays a half Native American tracker. And it's kind of about people don't like him for that. Remake that now. I mean, that's never been more relevant, social issues like that.
That's pretty cool. That's a good one. Jacob, anyone that you would like to see remade?
Not really any movies I'm dying to see remade. I always enjoy a good Western. I would like to see more modern Westerns and more, maybe, more original stories within the Western genre. And, if people want to remake some movies that aren't as well known, that's cool too. I'll still watch them, and thumbs up.
I don't need more Western TV shows, though. Like Yosemite's happening now that people are kind of trying to lean into.
No, Deadwood kind of set the bar pretty high. You can't really beat Deadwood.
Yeah.
You can do the modern Western thing with like Justified, which I haven't seen or anything, or you can do the sci-fi mashup.
Space Western, yeah.
I would prefer
there's
bigger
Firefly.
scale, smaller scale.
Yeah, Firefly, which we didn't really mention much in the movie section. That's a perfect
Firefly's
example.
great, yeah.
That's the Cowboy Bebop, the show.
I mean, there's literally a train robbery in the opening of Serenity. So
Yeah, and they go to like the old, the prostitute house, and it's like
and there's a duel for her love.
Yeah, there's all that. So there is literally a duel for her love.
Yeah, I mean it's all there, like all that.
And to get into the
exists.
Asian versus Western,
Yep.
that had a lot of Asian influence as well too, because it's kind of a world where it's like Asian.
Everyone's
and
speaking
Western.
Chinese. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting world, and like that's kind of something I would love to see. But not to hijack the responses
Please.
here, I would love to see, as we talked about, we had a lot of Chinese immigration coming during the railroads and the gold rush. How cool would it be to have a story about a Chinese immigrant who came and had to learn to
cowboy.
gunfight, a Chinese cowboy, not Shanghai Noon.
Shanghai
That's
Noon
great.
delves into that, and it's
But
very
from the
deep,
perspective of someone
Like
coming,
a real movie.
yeah, that would be awesome.
Mike, Jacob,
not
and I
a
were
Jackie
so
Chan,
eager to
fucking-
jump on you and be like, "Well, Shanghai Noon." You're like, "No, no, no,
Hold
no, no."
up.
I mean, a
Look,
serious.
they really get into the
version
plight of
that.
the,
Yeah.
the.
I think
the
that would be
Chinese
awesome,
road.
and like
Agreed.
just show the whole story because railroads are iron rivers, right? And that's what tamed the West was the railroad. Once the railroads came, then the towns popped up, then the law comes, right? The railroad, we built our towns around rivers because we can move goods there. Once we made railroads, man-made rivers, that's where towns went, you know?
Exactly.
And that's kind of what a lot of great westerns are about. Is the end of the Western era and the civilization
Modernization
growing.
creeping
That's what
in.
Deadwood is about. That's what Red Dead Redemption. That's the time
Wild
period
Bunch.
it's set in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the end of the Western and the dying of that archetype. Yeah.
I want to see Mickey Rourke play a John Wayne character.
Oh,
is
that
what I'm
would be
interested
dope.
for. That's my answer to my own question. Second question here: Red Dead Redemption 2 DLC. What do you want to say?
I want to see, like it seems like I'm getting on this mission where I roll into a dusty town. Everyone's using fake names. It's very, Fistful of Dollars.
very
I want to see more,
Yeah.
like references to classic. Let me do a stagecoach. Let me do a search.
You don't need the fantastical like Red Dead 1 did with the zombies.
No, give me a 310 to
nothing like
Yuma
that.
on my horse, gunning
Yeah.
down 10 guys to help some girl. That'd be so fun.
Gotta
So you want like literally like in Ready Player One
For DLC,
Give me the movie.
Yeah, for DLC, give it to me, right?
So like not exactly, but like sort of.
Give me that
spin-offs
flavor,
on that,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this: story strong enough for a movie adaptation
From this,
from Red Dead?
No, I don't think
Probably
every game
not,
needs
right?
to be a movie adaptation.
I mean, it's got a great story, but
Yeah, I
you
think
don't
it
need
lives
to make
as
a
it
movie.
as it is as
Guys,
a game.
most money made from entertainment in a weekend. You don't think some idiots out there like, I
Oh, yeah.
greenlit that for a TV show immediately?
Oh yeah, probably Netflix picked it
Yeah.
up.
Come
Probably
on.
the original Red Dead Redemption 1 would be a better for movie adaptation. Might be more interesting.
Because that's the guy going and taking
It's just
out.
kind of like
revenge.
you're living
tale.
life. Like it's very, again, slow moving. Yeah, that's the John Marston like revenge tale. Might be more
But
interesting.
you just make new characters and call it Red Dead.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't know if we need a Western that's adapted from a video game.
You
Like,
don't
just
think
make your
Paul
own
W.S.
Western.
Anderson, who did Resident Evil, the upcoming
Well-
Monster Hunter adaptation that looks nothing
Maybe
like
Uwe
it,
Boll
you
can
don't think he's-
restart the European Revolution.
Yeah, you don't think they're both just jacking off watching these video games? Going,
If you don't
"I
like it,
can't
I'll
wait."
box you.
Yeah. No, because
Meet me high noon.
we had the Italian Renaissance of the Western. Hopefully, we can get the Uwe Boll
Yeah.
Renaissance.
Just
too.
give me more.
No fucking thank
in
you.
terms of movies, new movies being made. Give me more 310 to Yuma type movies. Give me
Yeah.
more Coen Brothers True Grit. Give me those kind of movies. I like those movies.
I think it would be fun to see like a resurgence of the classic, almost tongue-in-cheek, like American Ideals.
Yeah,
Like,
if it's over the top, it could work.
Give me an Oregon Trail movie and make it
Oh.
super fucking funny.
that's it. The Oregon Trail movie.
Joe,
You're a genius,
what
guys.
the fuck? Throw on a million current comedy actors? That's a great fucking idea. You can embrace every
Yeah.
parody in the world in that.
Get Mel Brooks back on board.
That would be funny too.
I mean, they did the
A Million Ways to
Jumanji. It's
Die
not
in
too
the
far
West.
off from the
Oh.
Jumanji remake.
The Oregon
Yeah.
Trail.
Yeah, give me
movie.
the Oregon Trail movie and make it
Give
super
me the
fucking
Rock.
funny and topical.
The Rock driving.
All you got to
covered
do is
wagon.
ford the river. You overhunt the buffalo. It's it. That's it. I can't top that.
my foot's broken. Kill me. It's like, oh no. My final thoughts on it. I'm agreeing with Mike here. If you want an entry point into this genre, watch Blazing Saddles. You'll have fun. It's great for kids. And from there, if any of your
Sorta.
tastes are piqued, yeah, sort of. I guess I'm probably looking at.
Just
it's probably
wait while
pretty
I whip this
problematic.
out.
It's been a while.
Or you can watch, Seth MacFarlane's classic
Million
Million
Ways
Ways
to
to Die in
Die.
the
Yeah,
West.
I can't believe we
Which
didn't mention
Seth MacFarlane's mom is calling the new Blazing Saddles. So
Oh, great. Yeah,
Oh, my
but that's
You talked
just
to
such
Seth
an easy
MacFarlane's
way.
mom?
yeah, we talk a lot.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird
definitely.
that you have that direct line. So that's my thoughts. Just go in with an open mind and just love it.
I think we've all grown up around Westerns, watching Westerns, expose them. I think our parents loved them. If not, our grandparents definitely loved them because of that, John Wayne era. Hey, they're fun. And it's
Ed West, Pilgrim.
Has
Yeah.
anybody ever said to you, "This is a real movie"? My grandfather for sure has.
about a John Wayne film.
Just
Probably,
about
yeah,
any
my
Western, like
grandfather
saying,
loved Westerns
"This is
too,
a real
yeah.
movie." Criticizing what you enjoy.
This is teaching you how to be a man. Pay attention, right? You don't talk unless you have to. You do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. There's definitely, like you said, comments on American, like ideas of masculinity throughout the ages.
And you can watch it change, man. You can go
Yep.
from the John Waynes to the Clint Eastwoods to the Calvin Kleins.
Yep, definitely.
Calvin Klein.
I love that. I love that you just snuck that in. No, is that his name in the third one? What does he say? He's John Wayne. What does Marty
Clint
say?
Eastwood.
He says he's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah,
of course
yeah.
he does. So good, guys.
Bulletproof vest. Boogie.
All right, well, I think that's wrapping it up. I think that's our final thoughts. Jacob, anything to plug as our guest? Thank you so much for being on.
Nothing to plug. Just go buy Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm plugging that.
Well, how about your
Rockstar
Instagram? You
is
got a
paying
great
me.
Instagram.
I have an Instagram, yeah.
Hit it. Tell us. Let them know.
Yeah, it's it's my name. You can probably find it from the Normies Like Us
Show
Instagram.
notes.
I don't know.
Copy that. And, always...
Rockstar is paying me to say this. Go buy Red Dead Redemption 2.
They are not
braid your
paying you
horse's
to say
hair.
No one's paid Jacob to do anything.
If they were, you would let us know.
I wish they were.
Normies, hit
Pay
us up, of
before
course.
they pay you.
Check
Yeah.
out all our socials, like, rate, review, subscribe for the pod. Always helps. We got some more great episodes coming up, but reach out to us on what you want us to cover for the next coming months, because we're not going to have too many theme months going forward. So this is a great time for you guys to get in and let us know.
Yeah, we're at Halloween, so if there's anything we haven't talked about yet that you're dying to hear about, just go ahead and shoot us an email. There's a link on the Instagram. You can just click the button, send us an email directly. Easiest way to do it.
That's right. We're going to be getting the Patreon going. It's up. We're just trying to figure out the reward structure. We want to thank everybody for listening through October. Next week is going to be Harry Potter. And
I'm super excited about that.
yeah, Jacob
Big
will be
Harry
back.
Potter fan over here.
All right, so I'm going
Love
to go
those
ahead.
Expelliarmuses.
I'm going to saddle up my horse, braid its hair, and get ready to mosey on out. This has been Mike.
This is Colin. I guess I should put this dynamite out.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Jacob. There's a snake in my boot.
Thanks for listening, Normies.
Thanks,
Catch you
Normies.
next week.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
This episode is brought to you by Mane and Tail Horse Products. If you need to braid your horse's hair, be sure to go to maneandtail.com. You'll get a box sent
The
straight
best.
to your door every 6 months by Stagecoach.
I died of dysentery.